Chapter 1309. Everyone, Broken Meridian Sex. Dong Huangli actually created a person with her hands. This is too mystical. I don't know what use this person has, but from the looks of it, it seems to be very formidable. Also, I wonder what kind of performance Yi Yan will have. I am really looking forward to it. Yi Yan scolded in his heart. Formidable my ass, watch me. If I Yi Yan, don't show off my might. Do you all think that I Yi Yan am a Hello KT? Flowing light 10 chain slash. Yi Yan doesn't believe that a mere doll can be stronger than me Yi Yan. If that is the case, what am I Yi Yan going to follow you big sister? 10 rays of white light immediately blossomed, and the bubble version of big sister was immediately hit. 10 white marks appeared on her body, and it was clear that she was hit. The doll could be seen immediately splitting into several pieces, as if it was disintegrating. This caused everyone to be a bit surprised. The bubble version that I created for so long was actually insta-killed just like that. This is too disappointing. After succeeding in his attack, Yi Yan was a bit excited as he shouted out towards his big sister. What is this thing? It seems like it is only SSO, it was insta-killed. Are you sure? Dong Huangli said indifferently. Yi Yan's expression became grave. Big sister's words. Just when everyone thought that the doll was going to be destroyed, the doll that was disintegrating actually fused together once again, and furthermore, the doll even laughed. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Are you excited? The corner of Yi Yan's mouth twitched. This is a bit demonic. Super speed fusion regeneration. Qing Su cried out in surprise again. Yi Hua said faintly, Qing Su, don't make a fuss about nothing. Your Honor, subordinate is truly unable to calm down from the excitement in my heart. Your Honor is simply too formidable. I have to go and pay respects to Your Honor as my teacher. Qing Su wasn't joking. The things that Dong Huangli used in such a short period of time had already caused Qing Su to be extremely shocked, and I really want to ask Dong Huangli to enlighten me. Hearing what Qing Su said, Dong Huang Baiji felt very happy. Dong Huangli did not disappoint me. She truly gave me face. Qingya suddenly hoped that my son would be able to win. Seems like women have a competitive heart as well. They are all the same. At this moment, Yi Yan couldn't take it anymore and shouted out. Why are you using such a gaudy thing, White Emperor sword? The long sword in Yi Yan's hand suddenly disappeared, turning into a cloud-like substance, floating around Yi Yan's body. Dong Huangli looked towards the puppet and said in a low voice, just play around with him, it's fine as long as you don't get hurt. Such a handsome little brother, of course I won't hurt him. The puppet gave a strange smile. Even though it looked like a real person, when it smiled, it gave off a horrifying feeling. After all, it was not a real person. Dong Huangli laughed lightly, then took a few steps back. Meanwhile, the puppet was actually walking forward while walking like a cat. Is Dong Huangli's appearance that bad? Not bad. She is simply so beautiful that she could explode. Furthermore, when she walks out with such sexy steps, my eyes are about to pop out from looking at her. I don't believe it. Yi Yan shouted in a low voice. Insignificant tricks can't cripple you. The white mist around Yi Yan seemed to have a life of its own as it surged towards the puppet. In an instant, it wrapped around the puppet and began to spin violently. Yi Yan sneaked a peek at his sister and realized that she was expressionless. She must be pretending. She must be panicking. This move isn't bad. Dong Huangli said lightly. Of course, the White Emperor sword can transform into hundreds of millions of blades, attacking in all directions, not leaving any gaps. Yi Yan said in a low voice. This move could be considered the top martial technique of Shin Academy. When God Yi saw his brother using that move, he thought to himself that his sister definitely knew how to use it as well. She did not even use it when fighting him. Was it him or his sister who was going easy on him? God Yi was starting to have doubts. Dong Huangli laughed. That's why I used a puppet. When Yi Yan heard this, he immediately felt that something was wrong. It was as if every step he took was being controlled by his sister. Under Yi Yan's control, the White Emperor sword returned to his side and continued to float. However, the puppet had already disappeared. In Yi Yan's words, it had already turned into dust. Not even a speck of flesh remained. Seeing such a situation, Yi Yan smiled and said, nothing more than this. What other moves do you have? Bring them out. That's all? I'm afraid you're getting carried away. Yi Yan suddenly realized that something seemed to be condensing in the air, and his eyes instantly became astonished. This thing had already become like this. Could it still be fused? This is already so perverted that it no longer has any friends. In the blink of an eye, the puppet was formed once again. Everyone was incomparably shocked in their hearts. Could it be that this thing can't be killed? It can revive infinitely? Little big brother, this move of yours is making me feel so comfortable. The puppet twisted its neck, then swayed left and right. Yi Yan didn't even want to speak anymore. If you have the ability, let me take out my flute and blow you to death. This time it's my turn to attack. Little big brother, you have to be a bit more serious. The puppet laughed lightly. Yi Yan looked at this monster vigilantly. Since this thing can even be healed by dust, it seems like I can only use other methods. The puppet could be seen taking a deep breath. Suddenly, a thought emerged in everyone's mind. Could it be that this puppet is going to spit out bubbles again? It hasn't even finished eating yet, and it's already spitting out bubbles. Who? The puppet could be seen spitting out miniature versions of Ali from its mouth. The miniature versions of Ali looked exactly the same as when they were young. However, only the upper body of Ali was left, while the lower body of Ali was formed by mist. There were a total of 7 of them, and even their colors were different from each other. Yi Yan was clearly not very calm. Why did Big Sister make these things? It's so weird. Gather up, don't move around randomly. The puppet shouted out towards the 7 children. The 7 little fellows immediately stood in a row and slightly raised their heads. That look of theirs was rather confused. However, Yi Yan didn't think that way. From the looks of it, Big Sister already had this talent when she was young. This is too bad. Attention. Look to the right. Look to the front. At ease. After saying a few words, at ease. Yi Yan. These are probably all children, right? Their movements are actually so orderly and uniform. Is there a need to be so funny? Do you see the little big brother behind you? Go and hug him tightly, and you will be able to eat sweets. The puppet said with a slight smile, as if it was lying to little children. Hearing that there will be sweets to eat, these little fellows seem to be very excited. Don't look down on these fellows. Dong Huangli reminded. If you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. One-on-one? If you can't even defeat the puppet that I made, how can you even talk about one-on-one? Dong Huangli said faintly. Dong Huangli was very satisfied. Originally, Dong Huangli didn't plan to use these trump cards, but knowing that her father and mother were present at the scene, she felt that it was important for her to display these trump cards and show off the hard work that she had put in for so many years. Therefore, what Dong Huangli was using right now were all the trump cards that she had hidden for so many years. Especially this humanoid doll. This humanoid doll was Dong Huangli's most outstanding creation. Sometimes, even Dong Huangli herself wouldn't be able to guess how the humanoid doll would attack. Chapter 1310. Dong Huangli continued. Your White Emperor sword will not be able to cause any harm to it. If these 7 little fellows self-destruct beside you, you will definitely be injured, and the gas that comes out from the explosion will even make you fall asleep. This is just one of the 7 little fellows' functions. The other 6 have different functions. When all of them self-destruct, the fused poisonous gas will have a different effect. Later on, you will personally experience what despair is. Dong Huangli's words were all according to what Yi Hua said. After all, what he heard the most when he was young was, let the enemy experience what despair is. Right now, Dong Huangli was just responding to her father's call, causing her little brother to feel despair. Yi Yan looked at the 7 big sisters who were holding hands and looking at him with those strange gazes, and he didn't feel good. Big sister, you changed, you became too ferocious. At the very least, we relied on each other when we were young, we ate from the same bowl, and we even slept together. You even hugged Yan and sang songs to coax me to sleep. Do you still remember the days when we went to KFC to beg? Big sister, you were in charge of doing the dishes, and little brother, I, was in charge of crying. Big sister, did you forget the days when we stole chickens in Voidless Realm? Big sister, did you forget the days when we destroyed everything? And now, to actually use such a ferocious method to deal with little brother, big sister. Does your conscience not hurt? Back then, you even said that you will properly protect your little brother for the rest of your life. Look at me now, I can't even trust a woman's words. Even if it's a child who is only a few years old, liar. Yi Yan suddenly stretched out his palm and shouted out, "Wait!" Dong Huangli went into a daze for a moment, then gave the puppet a look. This puppet really does have its own thoughts, causing my 7 little brothers to stop moving. What are you doing? You still have a big move? Dong Huangli asked curiously. In actuality, she was a bit nervous. This humanoid doll is already my trump card, and it is also my most powerful move. If even this move is broken, then I don't have anything else that I can use. Therefore, I naturally don't want my little brother to have any more trump cards. Although Yi Yan was thinking this way, Dong Huangli still had that look of what trump card do I have on me, causing Yi Yan to feel uncertain. I still have a few moves that I created myself, but if big sister still has any perverted moves, wouldn't I be slapped in the face? This cheating big sister, I am going to tell mom and dad, you are bullying little brother. Originally, I wanted to get first place and go to show off a bit. This is simply too infuriating. If only I didn't act cool just now and just left the show with me. What should I do now? I have to brace myself and finish acting. But, forget it. I'll look for an opportunity in the future. I have to properly study how to get rid of my sister's poison. When that time comes, it'll be time for revenge. But when I think about my sister's mystical flames, my head hurts a little. Why can't I inherit it perfectly? How did my sister manage to fuse 2 mystical flames? She is indeed a perverted level of a sister. Yi Yi Emperor Di Xiao and said. And Yi Emperor to Yi. My stomach feel. Yi Qing Yi to. Yi Hua everyone to say to. Yi everyone. Yi. Seeing that his son was beaten away by his daughter, Yi Hua smiled helplessly. He didn't blame Yi Yan. After all, Ali's strength was indeed very strong, and she wasn't someone that Yi Yan could contend against. Emperor also felt. Yi imam. Yi all of Yi Ye's subordinates revealed a smile. Our little honor is still the same as when we were young, very cute. At this moment, Yi Yan came to his little sister's side. Yi Lu sighed lightly and patted on her big brother's shoulder. Brother, why did you admit defeat? Don't you still have a lot of ultimate moves? Yi Yan sighed helplessly. Mom and Dad are here. Yi Lu cried out in surprise. She immediately felt her face heating up. Does that mean that Mom and Dad saw the fight between me and Big Brother just now? If I had known earlier, I would have won even if I had to risk my life. Yi Yan also discovered his father during the fight, because his father was currently smoking. Yi Yan did not know that his father smoked a lot, and in this world, only his father who smoked would be able to draw out a unique aura from his father's cigarette. After being shocked, Yi Lu became even more confused. Brother, since Mom and Dad are watching us, why did you admit defeat? Yi Lu asked. Yi Yan stroked his little sister's hair and said faintly, I thought about it. No matter what, you are big sister, there is no need to do that. Oh brother. Yi Lu called out lightly. Other people only saw the side of Big Brother that was laughing and joking, but only I saw how hard my big brother worked when he was training. Yi Yan smiled bitterly. It's just that I disappointed Mom. Both of us admitted defeat. That's right, if I had known earlier, I would have been a bit more serious. Yi Yan didn't say anything. He looked at his big sister who was in the sky and revealed a smile. When Dong Huangli who was in the sky saw her little brother's smile, she glared at him. This brat, to actually go easy on me, be careful that big sister doesn't spank you like how I used to spank you when you were young. The host came back to his senses from his shock and said excitedly, Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The 2 trump cards of Shin Academy actually admitted defeat. Is this a shady deal? Or is Shin Academy really unable to hold on any longer? Next, it actually turned into a civil war within Meridian Break sect. This is so boring. Everyone immediately became speechless. This host is a bit interesting. To even be able to say such a thing, aren't you afraid of offending Shin Academy? However, there is a possibility of shady deal. With Shun Academy's trump cards, it shouldn't be to the point where they would admit defeat, right? Furthermore, everyone else was fighting to the death. But look at them, there aren't any injuries on their bodies. Although they were throwing ultimate moves at each other, there weren't any actual injuries on their bodies. Dong Huangli returned to God Ye's side, then smiled towards God Yi. Big sister, congratulations. God Yi congratulated his big sister in advance. This time, the first place was already in his hands. After all, by defeating Yi Yan, he would be the first place because the biggest threat was Yi Yan. Big sister, congratulations. Lu Xian'er, who was beside God Yi, also called out softly. Seems like she has already admitted her identity. This is a good thing. Hearing that Lu Xian'er had changed her words, God Yi revealed a smile, then lightly held onto Lu Xian'er's small hand. Seeing how her little brother and Lu Xian'er were acting, Dong Huangli felt very happy in her heart. After all, with her little brother's personality, it is truly difficult for him to find a girlfriend. If not for this mysterious mission, how could her little brother possibly find a girlfriend? Dong Huangli said softly. What's there to congratulate? Yi Yan went easy on me. It can't be. God Yi said doubtfully. Lu Xian'er, who was beside Yi Yan, was a bit surprised. Yi Yan went easy on me? Just now it seems like there was no other way. Chapter 13:11. It could only be said that Yi Yan's acting skills had improved a lot. After all, in the Yi family, it would be hard to survive without some acting skills. This fellow has become a lot more shrewd. Dong Huangli said with a light smile on her face. Her little brother has become so powerful. And Dong Huangli was naturally happy for her little brother. God Yi did not say anything after listening. That's right, I forgot to tell you, Daddy and Mommy are here, and they are currently looking at us. Dong Huangli reminded. This caused God Yi to go into a daze, and God Yi couldn't help but exclaim out loudly. What? Daddy and Mommy are here. Looking at her younger brother who had lost control of himself, Dong Huangli said snappily. Don't see how your mom will teach you a lesson when you are dressed like this, and yet, you are still showing off your muscles over there. God Yi's cold face instantly turned red. If he knew that his parents would come today, he would not have dressed like that and posed like that. It's all because of you. Xian'er likes muscular men. It was rare for God Yi to show an innocent expression. When did I ever like muscular men? Don't spout nonsense. Lu Xian'er was also extremely nervous at that moment. God Yi's parents were watching. That just now was so embarrassing. Sis, why didn't you say so earlier? You must have felt it a long time ago, right? God Yi knew that he had been tricked by his sister again. Dong Huangli spread out her hands. I also just found out about it. Yan'er, that fellow seems to have found out about it as well. Why are Mom and Dad here? God Yi held his forehead. It was too sudden and he could not accept it. His dad would definitely scold him. Dong Huangli laughed coquettishly. Mommy definitely dragged Daddy to come here. That's why Daddy came here. This is just nice. Let Xian'er gradually get to know Daddy and Mommy. After you pass Daddy and Mommy's test, Xian'er, you will be a member of Yi family. After hearing what Dong Huangli said, Lu Xian'er wished that she could dig a hole into the ground. Isn't this too fast? We have just confirmed our relationship, and we are already going to meet our family. Wasn't it supposed to be during the discussion of marriage? Xian'er, don't worry, our family members are all good people. Dong Huangli said earnestly. Good person. Yi Hua and the entire team doesn't seem to be a good person at all. Right now, Yi Hua released the shackles that were placed on Qingye and Donghuang Baiji, because the children's match was more or less over. God Yi was no match for Ali. Ali took first place this time. Yi Hua. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji shouted out towards Yi Hua. Yi Hua pretended that he didn't see anything and continued to smoke his cigarette while saying faintly, Pay attention to your image. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji really didn't want to pay attention to their image, and were prepared to have a big fight with Yi Hua. They wanted to let Yi Hua know that women still have a lot of formidable aspects. However, due to the presence of so many people, including his subordinates and children, he decided to put aside this debt for now and settle it properly in the future. However, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji couldn't wait to see their children anymore. It has already been 12 years. I really want to hug my children tightly into my embrace and tell them how much Mummy misses them. But your bad daddy doesn't allow Mummy to come and see them. I don't even allow Mummy to come and see them. Your Honor. Wei Chong shouted out lightly from behind Yi Hua. Wei Chong asked with a low voice, Deity Institution's Taiha has already died, but meridian-breaking sex Chonghen did not die. Yi Hua naturally knew that this was also one of the children's missions. It was also to train the children to be cold-blooded when it was time for them to be cold-blooded. However, right now Yi Hua was a bit hesitant. According to Absolute Heaven's intelligence, everlasting hatred seemed to dote on Ali and Godyi in every possible way. The reason why Ali had so many strange medicinal herbs was all because of everlasting hatred. Although it was for the sake of nurturing the two children, if he did not dote on them, why would he spend so much on them? Furthermore, the children also knew about their mission. If Yi Hua were to force them to carry out the mission, Yi Hua thought to himself, Ali and Godyi wouldn't disobey my orders. However, after the mission is completed, will they be happy? On the other hand, as a father, I will have one less enemy. Will I be happy? I don't seem to be happy at all. All these years, Yi Hua didn't go and carry out any revenge operations, because he felt that revenge doesn't seem to be able to make him happy. In fact, he even started a discussion about whether or not he should continue with his revenge operations. In the end, the conclusion that he came up with was that he should continue with his revenge operations, but he would listen to the will of the heavens, and he wouldn't doubt whether or not he should continue with his revenge operations. Because if he were to continue with his revenge operations, it would truly be very boring. Although he would be able to admire those expressions of fear, he felt that it was meaningless. Perhaps one day someone else would walk in front of you, and then you would be out of luck. In actuality, Yi Hua didn't have the mood to carry out any revenge operations, because all these years, there was a knot in his heart, and that was that old fortune teller. Thus every day, he desperately wanted to increase his own strength, protect his family, and protect the entire team. Everything seemed calm, but Yi Hua felt that this was the calm above the turbulent waves. However, the calm had been overturned, and the waves were coming. If he didn't take advantage of this opportunity to make preparations, then everything would be for naught. Not only was Yi Hua making preparations, the entire team didn't have time to relax and increase their own strength. After all, there was still a ticking time bomb beside them, Ren Yao. Who knows when this time bomb would explode, and no one knew what kind of effect it would spray out. Let's just hope that it turns out to be a dud. Forget it. Yi Hua said faintly. He decided not to make things difficult for the children. The revenge is mine, there is no need to place it on the children. Let's go. Yi Hua said faintly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji thought that Yi Hua was going to go back, but right now, he hasn't even picked up the children. And you already said that you are going back? How can you not keep your words? Just by looking at their expressions, Yi Hua knew that they were already an old married couple. You two want to meet here? Yi Hua said faintly. So that's the case. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji snorted. At least you are sensible. Seems like these two first wives of mine are very arrogant. Look at Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing. Both of them are very well behaved, unlike Qingye and Donghuang Baiji who are so arrogant. Yi Hua's temper is also much better. If not, he would have long hung them up and beaten them up. Yi Hua brought along everyone and took the lead. Right at this moment, the match between Donghuang Li and Godyi began. Godyi admitted defeat. Donghuang Li became the champion, and everyone booed at her. However, this didn't affect Donghuang Li's mood, because she was about to see her father and mother, and she was about to return home. I really want to return home. After the match ended, the four children disappeared. As for where they went, it was naturally to meet up with each other first. Behind a big rock in Maple Forest Valley, the four little fellows were looking at each other, and all of them had the same expression on their faces. How is this a meeting between brothers? This is simply a meeting between enemies who have been enemies for hundreds of years, and they really want to stab each other with a knife. Suddenly, Donghuang Li opened up her arms. Yen'er come into big sister's embrace. Chapter 13:12. Yi Yan immediately crossed his arms. Sister, don't be like this. We're all adults. Please give each other some space, okay? Good my ass. Get over here. Dong Huangli placed both of her hands on her waist. It seemed like if you don't give her big sister a hug right now, you will be done for. Sis, it's really awkward to hug now. Dong Huangli immediately walked up and hugged onto Yi Yan, then said tenderly, My Yener is taller than big sister. Sister. Yi Yan's body trembled slightly. He remembered the last hug. At that time everyone was still young, and it was 12 years ago. Time passed in the blink of an eye. Yi Yan had imagined this day countless times. Io. Sis. Yi Yan held onto his waist and shouted out in pain, thinking to himself, why is it that even big sister is unable to escape from the common weakness of all women? Does this pinch on my waist not hurt at all? After growing up, your guts have gotten bigger, huh? Just now you actually dared to tease big sister. Dong Huangli pinched onto Yi Yan's ear, and said with a stern look on her face, Sis, how would I dare to tease you? I can't beat him. Humph, you still can't beat him? Do you believe I won't kick you? Big sister, please spare my life. Dong Huangli laughed tenderly, then let go of Yi Yan and said tenderly, Let big sister take a good look at you, you sure are handsome. Have you found a girlfriend yet? I heard that you became a scumbag. What girlfriend? I plan to be single for the rest of my life. Yi Yan smiled. He didn't want to find a wife now. He would wait until he broke his father's record before looking for a wife. That won't do for you. Godyi has already found a girlfriend. I really couldn't tell that Godyi would take the initiative to confess. Did you poison him, sis? Dong Huangli hammered onto Yi Yan's head, while Yi Yan had a look of I understand on his face. Godyi and Yi Lu were also very affectionate. Lu, brother. The brother and sister hugged each other tightly. At this moment, the two ice cubes seemed to have temporarily melted, and both of them revealed a happy smile. Godyi looked at his sister, and brushed aside her hair. I haven't seen you for more than a decade. Luer is getting more and more beautiful. Big brother, you're also much more handsome. You even have a girlfriend. Yi Lu said with a naughty smile. She had really changed her previous nickname of being cold. Godyi looked a little embarrassed. Luer, do you have a boyfriend? Not yet. Why don't you introduce them to your sister? And then it is better for you to look for it yourself. Godyi chuckled and suddenly thought of something. He pinched Yi Lu's little face. Did you go easy on me just now? I didn't go easy on you. Yi Lu said lightly while standing on the tip of his toes. Although that was what he said, that expression of his was clearly saying that he had gone easy on Yi Lu. So what? Are you angry? Godyi shook his head helplessly and waved at Lu Xian, who was not far away. Xiener, come here. Let me introduce you. Lu Xiener, who was standing at the side, saw that they were really siblings. This was simply unthinkable. Meridian-breaking sex trump card, coupled with Shun Institution's trump card, this was too unbelievable. What kind of people were Godyi's parents? Lu Xian, didn't dare to imagine. Lu, this is Lu Xian. She'll be your sister-in-law from now on. Godyi pulled the shy Lu Xian in front of him and smiled. Greetings, sister-in-law. Yi Lu called out with a smile. A woman that even her brother acknowledged couldn't be any worse. Lu Xian blushed. Hello, Luer. Sister-in-law, there's no need to be restrained. We're a family from now on. Lu Xian, felt that she had only just started dating Godyi. How did they suddenly become a family? At this moment, Dong Huangli and Yi Yan walked over. Big sister. Yi Lu walked forward, then threw herself into Dong Huangli's embrace and called out intimately, as expected of sisters. Luer, you're truly becoming more and more beautiful. Even big sister likes you. Dong Huangli couldn't help but tease, causing Yi Lu to be unhappy. Only at this place could Yi Lu express herself. Godyi pulled Lu Xian in front of Yi Yan and called out, Brother, long time no see. This man's way of greeting is really not direct. The main thing is that when they were young, Yi Yan and Godyi didn't interact much. Yi Yan nodded, then looked at Lu Xian and asked, This is sister-in-law, right? That's right, brother. Xian greet her. Brother. Lu Xian called out shyly. Yi Yan patted on Godyi's shoulder. Alright, you're asking about the first person who found his other half. Daddy and mommy should be very happy. However, I'm also curious, with your personality, why did you suddenly want to find a girlfriend? Daddy requested it. Godyi subconsciously said. Ah, Daddy had such a request? Why didn't I know about it? Big sister, do you know about it? I don't know. Dong Huangli shook her head. At this moment, Godyi was a bit stupefied. I feel like I've been tricked again, so Daddy didn't have such a request at all, and yet Big sister, you're really. Do you have to trick your little brother like this? Just like what Dong Huangli said, if little brother isn't used to trick others, then what's the point of having a little brother? What Dong Huangli said made sense. In any case, it was the first time Yi Yan and Yi Lu met Lu Xian. Meeting gifts were definitely not lacking. Yi Yan and Yi Lu both gave Lu Xian meeting gifts. Those gifts were all small gifts, and those small gifts were given by Daddy in the past. In the eyes of the children, those were small gifts. However, in Lu Xian's eyes, those were all things that she couldn't see. And yet, they were actually able to casually take them out. Furthermore, their expressions seemed to be saying that they were too embarrassed to take out those things. Lu Xian felt that Godya's parents are very mysterious. They can't be some big shots from someplace, right? Right at that moment, a figure suddenly appeared around the children, giving Lu Xian a fright. Subordinate pays respect to little honor. Uncle Wei. Uncle Wei. The relationship between Dong Huangli and Wei Chong was very deep, followed by Yi Yan. The person who came was naturally Wei Chong. As a subordinate, he had to act like a subordinate. However, when he looked at Ali and Yan Wei Chong was also extremely happy in his heart. They have grown up. I remember that when Ali first came to the bar, she was still so young, and her voice was still childish, but now, she has already become a big girl. Dong Huangli and Yi Yan hugged onto Wei Chong tightly, while Wei Chong lightly hugged onto Yi Yan, and revealed a happy smile on the corner of his mouth. God Yi and Yi Lu respectfully shouted out from the side, Uncle Wei. Although Wei Chong was Yi Hua's subordinate, the children still respected Wei Chong a lot. To be more precise, they respected the subordinates of every single father. Lu Xian couldn't remain calm anymore. This man who came out of nowhere actually called God Yi and the others little honor. Just what is going on? Why do I feel like I'm going to be sold? Lu Xian was a bit panicky in her heart. She could only lean tightly onto God Yi's side. Only then would she feel a bit of security. Chapter 13:13. Don't be afraid. This is Uncle Wei. God Yi comforted her softly. After all, Lu Xian would feel uncomfortable from the aura emitted by Uncle Wei. Lu Xian forced herself to calm down, but she still stayed close to God Yi. Little honor, please follow subordinate down. His honor and madam are already waiting for you. Wei Chong said with a smile while looking at the children. Presumably, his honor and madam should be very anxious right now, right? Upon hearing that they were going to be able to see their parents soon, the four children were very excited, but also a bit nervous. I haven't seen them for a long time. I wonder if my father and mother have gotten old. And I wonder if my father has found a new wife. His mother would definitely be furious and might even run away from home. Without us to cover for him, my father would have no choice but to ask Uncle Wei and the others to act. And Uncle Wei, let's go. Dong Huangli was already impatient. Wei Chong nodded, and everyone immediately disappeared. When the scene appeared again, both Dong Huangli and Yi Yan went into a daze for a moment because they were currently inside. Leisure bar. To Dong Huangli, that bar counter was too familiar. That bar counter was filled with countless memories. His honor and madam are inside the bedroom. Wei Chong said with a slight smile. Towards the place that his honor chose to meet with Yi Hua, Wei Chong sighed with emotion. In actuality, the one who misses little his honor the most is his honor. It's just that his honor didn't show it. Dong Huangli took the lead and rushed upstairs. God Yi also carried Lu Xian who had a confused look on her face, upstairs. Although I was tricked by my big sister, since I have already found Lu Xian then let's just let it be. In the future, I won't have to go through the trouble of looking for Lu Xian anymore. After all, Lu Xian is pretty good. Right now, Dong Huangli was standing at the doorway of the bedroom, and she was feeling very nervous. She was currently thinking about what she should say to Dong Huangli. Sister, What are you waiting for? Let's go in. Yiyan urged. Wait, let big sister calm down. Dong Huangli said nervously. It's Dad and Mom, not someone else. What are you waiting for? Yiyan pushed the door open. 3 people appeared in the room. The children standing outside the door looked at the 3 figures. They originally wanted to pretend to be relaxed, but now they couldn't do it. Dong Huangli and Yi Lu immediately started crying. After all, they were girls, and it was inevitable for them to be a bit emotional. Yi Yan's and Gadia's eyes reddened. Boys needed some face. How could they be like girls, crying at the drop of a hat? At the very least, they had to hold on a little longer. Meanwhile, the ones inside the house were naturally Yi Hua, Qingya, and Donghuang Baiji. Looking at the children, Yi Hua's expression was very tense. Yi Hua was most likely holding back his tears. He couldn't let the children see him as a joke, and he also couldn't be like Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, whose faces were already filled with tears. Mom! Donghuang Li threw herself into Donghuang Baiji's embrace. Ali, Mom misses you so much. Donghuang Baiji hugged onto her daughter tightly, and the longing she had for her daughter immediately erupted. Mom! Yi Lu did the same. She ran into Qingya's arms and her tears instantly drenched Qingya's clothes. Lu are my daughter. Qingya rubbed her daughter's forehead as tears streamed down her face. Donghuang Li and Yi Lu's cries could be heard all over the bedroom, and Donghuang Li and Yi Lu's cries were simply howling loudly. Even Yi Hua felt that he was a bit too ruthless. After making the children leave for such a long time, it was only natural for Qingya and Donghuang Baiji to be this angry. Yi Yan and Gadi, who were boys, were much more steady. They walked to their mother's side, and before they even said a single word, they were hugged by their mother, just like how they were when they were little. The children who were able to feel their mother's love were all very happy. Yi Yan and Gadi both cried, but very quickly, they wiped away their tears. I can't let others see me crying, especially when my father is right beside me. If my father sees me crying, how much face would I have? Yi Hua stood beside the window and lit up a stick of cigarette. It seems like only by doing this can my excited mood calm down. This is indeed very effective. After a long while, Yi Hua finally calmed down. Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette butt and looked at his 4 children. The children also looked at their father, and suddenly discovered that their father seemed to have aged a lot. This kind of aging wasn't referring to his appearance, rather, it was referring to his mentality. The children's feeling was right. After all these years, Yi Hua's mentality had indeed aged a lot. Daddy! The 4 children obediently shouted out, preparing to listen to Yi Hua's lecture. Yi Hua looked at the children, took a deep breath, then said in a low voice, Children, it has been hard on you all. Daddy! The 2 daughters immediately hugged onto their father tightly. Their father was like a mountain that they could rely on. This kind of feeling could only be felt now. Outside, the only person that they could rely on was themselves. Yi Hua lightly caressed onto his daughter's hair, and sighed with emotion in his heart. You all are good children. Daddy. Yi Hua patted onto Yi Yan and Gadia's shoulders. You all have performed well. Daddy is very happy today. Daddy, our final mission has yet to be completed. Yi Yan was obedient. In front of Yi Hua, Yi Yan would always be obedient and didn't dare to be impudent. Yi Hua naturally knew what Yi Yan was talking about. Although Yi Yan and Yi Yan were serious, Yi Hua could feel that there was still a bit of conflict in their hearts. Yi Hua. Qingya called out lightly. Mom, this is our duty. Yi Yan said in a low voice. Yi Hua patted onto Yi Yan's shoulders. Forget it, don't do that mission anymore. During this period of time, properly accompany your mother. I miss you all a lot. Yi Hua looked at the children's expressions. When he said that he was going to cancel the mission, the children clearly let out a sigh of relief. Yi Hua didn't even know what to say. Should he be happy or disappointed? After living together for so many years, as long as it was a human, there would definitely be some feelings. The children were not like me. I am an undead. My feelings can be extinguished at any time. You all continue chatting. I will go down and drink a cup of wine. Yi Hua said lightly. As a mother, she definitely has a lot of things to say. Daddy, wait, I still have someone to introduce. Gadi said a bit embarrassedly. Yi Hua and his two wives immediately understood what God Yi meant, and nodded their heads with a smile. God Yi was delighted. As long as Daddy nodded his head, it would be a success. Zing! God Yi opened the door of the room and shouted towards Lu Xian, who was outside. Lu Xian, was very nervous, to the point where she felt that her legs weren't listening to her, and couldn't even move. God Yi grabbed onto Lu Xian's wrist and pulled her into the bedroom. Daddy, Mommy, she is called Lu Xian, she is my girlfriend, let me introduce her to you all. Lu Xian, lowered her head the moment she entered the room. She didn't dare to raise her head, because she was afraid. Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji had already met Lu Xian, during the competition. Lu Xian, wasn't bad, right? Looking at how she is right now, she should be considered as an obedient girl. Chapter 13-14. Raise your head, Yi Hua said softly. Donghuang Baiji rolled her eyes at Yi Hua. Don't scare others. Come, let Auntie take a look. Lu Xian finally raised her head. She was so nervous that she did not know what to say. You are really good looking. Shen'er has good taste. Qingye laughed softly, then looked at her son, as if saying, look at your little brother, he has already solved his personal problem. As the big brother, when are you going to solve it? Yi Yan seemed to be able to sense his mother's intention, and immediately turned his face away. Can I be like God Yi and confess while wearing a camisole? That kind of scene is really unbearable. Only God Yi would dare to do that. Greet her. God Yi reminded softly. He felt that it was funny. In the past, Lu Xian was quite calm, but now she actually became like this. It felt quite interesting. Following God Yi's reminder, Lu Xian finally came back to her senses and subconsciously followed God Yi and shouted, Mom! Everyone was speechless. That word mom shocked everyone. Even God Yi looked at Lu Xian, dumbfoundedly. She said that she doesn't want to be my woman, but this is the first time they met, and she even called me mom. I didn't expect that. Xian actually likes me so much. Donghuang Baiji was stunned for a moment, then smiled happily. You have such a sweet mouth. Shen'er, you are blessed. Lu Xian finally realized that she had said the wrong thing. Her face was about to bleed. She held onto God Yi's hand tightly. Her meaning was very obvious. It's all your fault. Qingye then looked at Yi Yan, as if saying, when are you going to find a girlfriend like this and make mom happy? Yi Yan initially thought that when God Yi found a girlfriend, his parents would tease him a little. He did not expect that they would actually point the spearhead at him. Yi Hua took a few steps forward and stood in front of Lu Xian. Lu Xian immediately felt pressured. God Yi's father doesn't feel like an ordinary person. I don't know what God Yi's father is going to say to me. I don't feel like it's easy to get along with him. Take good care of God Yi in the future. Yi Hua said lightly as he took out a greeting gift. It was a hairpin that was emitting out a faint radiance. However, don't look down on this hairpin. What Yi Hua took out was definitely not an ordinary thing. Lu Xian was too embarrassed to accept it and dared to reject it. God Yi tightened his grip on Lu Xian's hand. Since Daddy had given it to her, she should accept it honestly. If she did not accept it, it would mean that she was not giving him face. That was not being polite. Lu Xian was still very smart. She instantly understood God Yi's meaning, and accepted it with both hands. Thank you, uncle. I understand. Ying. Yi Hua called out to his eldest son. Dad. Yi Yan was confused. Why did his dad call him at this time? It's good to start a family first. Then you can focus on your career in the future. A few black lines instantly appeared on Yi Yan's forehead. On the other hand, Qingye had a joyous look on her face. This fellow Yener, perhaps he doesn't listen to this mother, but whatever this father says he will do. Right now it's also good for Yi Yan to start a family first. I will also have one less thing to worry about. Or it's also good for me to hug a grandson. I know, Daddy. What else can Yi Yan say? It's all this God Yi's fault. If you don't find a girlfriend, would I die together with you? No. If I'm going to die, then let's die together. Daddy, big sister isn't young anymore. I feel that we should. Just when Yi Yan finished speaking, Donghuang Li and Yi Lu cast a gaze of death at Yi Yan. Brat, you are planning to die together with us, right? You don't have to worry about your big sister and your little sister's matters. Just focus on your own matters. Yihua said faintly, then continued. If the two of you have a boy that you like, then bring him home and let Daddy and Mommy take a look at him. Donghuang Li and Yi Lu nodded their heads. And we definitely will. Dad. Since you have already found a girlfriend, then give birth to a child so that your mom won't get bored every day. God Yi, Lu Xian'er, we just confirmed our relationship today, and to immediately give birth to a child, isn't this a bit too fast? However, Donghuang Baiji tacitly agreed to Yihua's words. You two have a good chat. After finished speaking, Yihua walked out of the bedroom, appearing a bit abnormal. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were already used to it. After all, Yihua had always been like this for the past few years. Qingye, how about we ask Yuan Qing for help and let Yan, or go on a blind date? Donghuang Baiji immediately thought of Yihua's little sister. No matter what, she is an empress, and she definitely has a lot of resources in her hands. Qingye felt that this suggestion was not bad. Finding a daughter-in-law doesn't necessarily have to be from a rich family. Yi family doesn't lack such people at all. The main thing is that Yener likes the girl, and the girl that likes Yener, that is enough. Mom, I will look for someone myself. Really, how old am I? And I am already going on a blind date. Yi Yan never expected that he would be walking on the path of a blind date when he is not even 18 years old. God Yi said lightly, Brother, you have to listen to Mom. Facing God Yi's teasing, Yi Yan immediately rolled his eyes. You already have a girlfriend now, and you are just waiting to give birth to a child. Brother, are you sure that you have to listen to Mom? Yi Lu immediately rebelled. I am very curious about what kind of girl my brother is going to find. Yi Lu feels that I must definitely find a girl that can suppress my brother. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji laughed tenderly, and even Lu Xian'er revealed out a smile. I feel that the atmosphere isn't that tense anymore. The main reason is because Uncle Yi left with that oppressive atmosphere. Yihua came to the bar counter downstairs. Wei Chang was currently holding onto a broom, and was currently cleaning the bar. It has been a long time since I last cleaned the bar, and there is quite a lot of dust in the bar. Come over and have a drink with me. Yihua poured 2 cups of vodka, added a little bit of ice, and said lightly. Wei Chang walked over respectfully. Seeing that his honor's expression wasn't that good, this shouldn't be the case. The children have already returned. Why is his honor still frowning? Your honor. I am fine, I am just feeling a bit emotional. Yihua lightly took a sip of the vodka. Wei Chang knew that his honor felt embarrassed to show off in front of his family, and that's why his honor ran downstairs to have a drink. Your honor, what about our next mission? Next, we will just have to wait for them to return. It should be about time for them to return in a few days. At that time, we will have another meeting. After finished speaking, Yihua patted onto Wei Chang's shoulder and said again, It is time for us old fellows to retire. This is the world of the youngsters. Your honor? Yihua took a deep breath and did not say anything. Your honor, all these years, are you still worried that that fortune teller is related to the guardian? Wei Chang understood Yihua very well. After all, that fortune teller was the first person who used fantasy to deceive his honor. Towards this kind of person, his honor would definitely be very vigilant. Chapter 13-15. Whether it's related or not to us, it doesn't seem to be a good thing. It is rather troublesome, and we cannot underestimate the strength of those guardians. Wei Chang nodded his head. He understood the strength of the guardians. For every single one of them to reach the same level as 7 sins, it could be seen how powerful they were. Go and ask Blood Demon to prepare a good meal. Everyone should gather together. The children should also get to know new friends. Yes, Your Honor. If not for Yihua going upstairs to call for people, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji would probably be able to talk for 3 days and 3 nights, and they might not even be able to finish. The children more or less knew about some things. It seems like during these years that I left, a lot of accidents happened. I missed out on a lot of things. I still have my uncle. Daddy actually still has a blood brother that I lost contact with for many years, and Grandma. My God, however, from Mother's expression, this uncle that I haven't met yet, seems to not be doing well, and many of Daddy's subordinates have gone out to train. As for why did they suddenly go out, Mother did not say anything. It's just that the children were curious, feeling as if they had missed out on 100 million. Lu Xian sat at the side and poured tea for them from time to time, looking very virtuous. This made Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's impression of her rise. As a daughter-in-law, she has reached the standard. Very quickly, everyone arrived at Wushu Empire's palace. Right now, everyone was waiting for Lord Little Honor's arrival. Lu Jing was naturally among them, and Gongyu was also there with her child. To Yi, those older and younger brothers of mine are like a mystery. Today they are back. I wonder if they are easy to get along with. Looking at Mother who was at the side, I feel that Mother is not happy in this palace. Perhaps she is waiting for Daddy to return. If not, I really want to bring Mother away from this palace. Maybe Mother will be a bit happier. Other than the people who went out to train, everyone else was present. A white light flashed past, and a few figures appeared in everyone's field of vision. Lu Jing looked at the 5 youngsters. She was extremely happy, but she was also puzzled. Why is there one more child? Didn't they say that there are only 4 children? To Lu Xian, today was simply like a dream. From here to there, from there to here, and there are so many people. Welcome, Your Honor. Your wife. Little Supreme One. All of the subordinates shouted out respectfully, and their voices were extremely loud and clear. However, right after the subordinates shouted out, the entire Wushu Empire resounded with the same voice. Welcome, Your Honor. Your honorable wife. Little Senior. The entire voidless empire seemed as though it was about to burst into a frenzy. Naturally, it was all thanks to the management of the various subordinates that they were able to achieve such a consensus. Anyway, it was the first time Lu Xiener had seen such a scene. Suddenly, she felt that her face was very hot, as if her blood was burning. Of course, her scalp was also a little numb. This was too shocking. The sky suddenly darkened, and in the blink of an eye, it seemed to be late at night. Baiu, a dazzling firework rushed into the night sky, blossoming into dazzling sparks. It was truly very beautiful. The children hadn't seen it for many years. Now that they saw it, they were overjoyed. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji didn't know that Yihua had such an arrangement. Looking at Yihua's back view, Qingye discovered that during the past few years, this man seemed to have been hiding some things in his heart, and didn't even talk to us and the others. Biu. The entire voidless empire rang out with the cheers of the people, as if they were celebrating the new year. The fireworks in the sky illuminated the faces of the people time and time again, bringing with them a sense of joy. No matter how beautiful the fireworks were, there would always be an end. As the sky turned bright, Lu Jing took a step forward with a kind smile. Children, let Grandma have a look. Grandma. The children were naturally familiar with each other, and all of them ran over at the same time. After that, all sorts of bootlicking began. However, only Donghuang Li and Yi Lu were rather intimate with each other. As men, Yi Yan and God Yi were not that gentle. Yo, you are even more handsome than me now, not bad, not bad. At this moment, Lai Gu looked at Yi Yan and teased. In the past, Yi Yan would also play around with Lai Gu and often joke around with him. After all, Lai Gu dared to joke around with his honor, let alone little his honor. Uncle Lai Gu, it has been many years since we last met, and you are still as handsome as ever. Seems like after growing up, Yi Yan had also become an old driver. Let Uncle Lai Gu take a good look, and see if our little his honor has been conquered by that girl or not. Looking at Lai Gu's unbridled gaze, Yi Yan immediately covered his mouth. What girl? Then what you are doing is wrong, even at your age, his honor. Everyone looked at Lai Gu, and Lai Gu immediately covered his mouth, then looked at the blue sky and said, I wonder if blood demon rice is ready yet, I am a bit hungry. The wives immediately looked towards Yihua, seemingly asking, we have been husband and wife for so many years, yet you are still lying to us. Yi Yan looked at his father, seemingly asking, is it true? Daddy, are you so awesome? Does mommy know? God Yi pulled Lu Xiener over, and when Lu Jing saw that her grandson already has a girlfriend, she smiled even more happily. Looking at my grandson, he is much more enlightened than my 2 sons. At such a young age, he is already able to solve his personal problems. In the future, he will be able to focus on his career. Of course, the children still do not know Qian Yuqing, so they still had to introduce her. The children knew that their father definitely has a new wife, but it seems like this is still their father's first love. There is still no problem with their father's eyesight. This auntie is very beautiful. It has been so many years since they last had a child together. This is quite strange. Right now, the children naturally had to greet Gongyu. After all, she is the wife of their father's younger brother, and there is even a child beside her. This child should be considered as a younger brother, right? This was also the first time that Gongyu met the children, and thus she also prepared a greeting gift. Although the gift was not very expensive, it was still enough to fulfill her intention. Yi call big brother and big sister. Gongyu said tenderly. Yi seemed to be a bit unnatural, but he still shouted out respectfully, "Greetings to big brother and big sister." Yi Yan patted onto Yi Yi's shoulder. "Little brother, in the future, follow big brother. I guarantee that I will bring you flying." Just as Yi Yan finished speaking, he felt a pain at the back of his head. "Big sister, give me some face, there are so many people here." Yi Yan's helpless expression caused everyone to laugh out loud. Seems like his honor's concern for me is still the same as when I was young, and there isn't any estrangement after I grew up. This is truly worthy of celebration. However, this also achieved Yi Hua's goal. "Alright, let's talk while we eat later." Yi Hua said lightly. "Today is a good day. I am able to open a few bottles of wine and drink with my subordinates." Dong Huangli suddenly felt that a huge fatty had appeared beside her. From the looks of it, this fatty looks even more meatball than a meatball. Chapter 13:16. Dong Huangli knew that this was father's direct subordinate, Qing Su. But why is he looking for me? Looking at her father's serious expression, Dong Huangli looked towards her father confusedly. Yi Hua didn't say anything. He knew what Qing Su wanted to do. After all, Qing Su was currently Dong Huangli's fan. This doesn't mean that Dong Huangli's strength is stronger than Qing Su's. Rather, Dong Huangli's ideals and the things that Dong Huangli did made Qing Su feel incomparable admiration. Therefore, "Please accept me as your disciple," Qing Su yelled with extreme sincerity. This caused everyone in the surroundings to be dumbfounded. They knew that you worshipped him in your heart, but they didn't expect you to worship him to such an extent that you even came out to acknowledge him as your master. Dong Huangli was stupefied by Qing Su. This, "Please accept me as your disciple, little revered." Qing Su pleaded once again. That pious look of his was truly shocking. Yi Hua stopped his footsteps and looked at Qing Su while feeling helpless in his heart. This fellow is truly capable of doing anything. Dong Huangli looked towards her father, and was a bit at a loss as to what to do. It seemed a little strange for a subordinate of his father to ask him to be his disciple. Yi Hua gave Qing Su a do-as-you-see-fit expression. This kind of thing was a subordinate's voluntary action, and for Qing Su to do such a thing was also a normal situation. Therefore, his daughter could do as she saw fit. Qing Su saw that little senior was not speaking. He thought that little senior was not willing, so he hurriedly said, "I really admire little senior, it's true. I can swear to the heavens that I am also a poison cultivator. And when I saw little senior's martial arts competition, I was simply unable to hide the surging emotions in my heart. Therefore, I can only take you as my master. I hope that little senior can accept me." Everyone was already used to Qing Su's passion for refining poison. As long as he could be of help in refining poison, he would do anything. "Ah, you also know poison?" Speaking of concocting poison, Dong Huangli's interest was immediately piqued. After all, it wasn't easy to find a like-minded person. That's right. I'm proficient in concocting many different kinds of poisons. Little Honorable, we can discuss the profoundness of concocting poisons together. Qing Su started to boast. There's definitely a chance. Dong Huangli laughed coquettishly. Since it's just a discussion, there's no need for me to take you as my teacher. It's fine for us to just exchange our experiences with each other. This isn't good, right? There's nothing bad about it. This is also scientific research, right? Dong Huangli helped Qing Su up from the ground. All of Qing Su's subordinates admired Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli chose to sit on equal footing with Qing Su, and everyone could clearly see what Dong Huangli was thinking. Perhaps, after his honor abdicates, Dong Huangli will be able to inherit his honor's position. Right now, Qing Su was also starting to admire Dong Huangli. To be able to accept me as an apprentice, how glorious is this? Little His Honor actually used this kind of method to protect his face. Little His Honor is truly a good Little His Honor. A gratified smile appeared on Dong Huangbaizhi's face. My daughter is much more sensible now. Perhaps, Ali will be able to inherit my position. As for Yen I will have to see how he performs. Only Ali or Yen can inherit the position of this deity. Just when everyone was preparing to go and eat, Zhu Tian suddenly went into a daze, then hurriedly walked out from the group and said respectfully, "Your Honor, they are coming back." Hearing Absolute Heaven's words, everyone was stunned. Those people who went out to train for 12 years, and now, they are finally coming back. Among those people, there were wives, and there were also husbands. Everyone was looking forward to their early return. Gong Yu's entire body became stiff. During these 12 years, the only person who was able to support me was Yi Juetian. Every single day, I would be on tenterhooks, afraid that my big brother would walk in from the outside and tell me with a sorrowful expression that Zhu Tian. Thus, every time Gong Yu saw Yi Hua, she would be very nervous and afraid. But right now, after hearing Yi Hua's words, Gong Yu felt as if she was going to faint, and she was so excited that her entire body was trembling. Yi, who was at the side, couldn't help but become nervous. Ever since I was born, I have never seen my father even once. Sometimes, I would see my mother secretly crying, and that kind of sadness made me feel very sad. I even heard from the palace maids that back then, my mother was very bad, and I nearly went berserk and killed that viper-like palace maid. To actually say that my mother is a bad woman. My mother is the best mother in the world. No one can compare to her. Everyone who says that my mother is bad deserves to die. Not only was Gong Yu excited, right now Li Jing was also very excited. My son has been out for so long, and now he is finally coming back. This is truly a blessing from the heavens. No accident happened to my son. If an accident happened to my son, I don't even know if I will be able to continue living. Wei Chang was also very excited. Tang Wei had left me for 12 years, and I don't even know how she managed to get through all these years. Only when you lose someone, will you know how important someone is. Zhu Tian was also very excited. Yu could be considered to be the weakest among everyone. Although he would visit her every day, he was still very worried in his heart. If an accident happened to her son, his intestines would turn green from regret. Right now, Zishan was also incomparably excited. In the past, when I was together with Yi Hong, I would often bully Yi Hong, and I even felt that Yi Hong was a good-for-nothing. But after Yi Hong left, only then did Zishan realize one thing, and that was that Yi Hong was already inseparable from her life. Without Yi Hong, even the sky would lose its color. Of course, there was also Do Fusher and Lai Gu. Both of them were looking forward to the return of their loved ones. It has been so many years, and it has truly been hard on them. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. I am finally coming back. These people have returned triumphantly. The decision I made back then was still the right one. Only by experiencing life and death can one become stronger. And only then can one realize what one wants. Everyone looked at Yi Hua, who was smoking, and none of them made a sound. As the ashes of the cigarette fell onto the ground, Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette with his foot. Then, with a wave of his hand, a huge black hole appeared in the middle of the spacious and empty venue. Everyone's gaze was looking at the black hole, because they were going to walk out from the black hole with their own glory. Suddenly, a sharp aura spread out from the black hole. This aura carried killing intent. It carried steadiness, and it carried respect towards Yi Hua. A huge gale suddenly started blowing at the venue, and the sky gradually darkened. Because the aura was becoming stronger and stronger, the entire Wushu Empire could sense it. It wasn't that those people were trying to act cool, but rather, living in that kind of world, one had to maintain vigilance at all times. If not, one would only die. Thus, one had to be prepared to fight at all times. Everyone looked at the black hole, and suddenly, a figure appeared from within. It was a figure that did not have any arms. Yihua knew that other than his little brother, there was also LV Shu who did not have any arms. However, his little brother was currently the boss of the team. Thus, Yi Juetian slowly walked out of the black hole. Chapter 13-17. Everyone looked at Yi Juetian and discovered that Yi Juetian had changed. He had really changed. Even his entire temperament had changed. If the Yi Juetian in the past was just an ignorant child, then the current Yi Juetian would be able to take on a lot of responsibilities. Gong Yu was already sobbing uncontrollably. If not for her son supporting her, she would have already sat on the ground. Lu Jing's heart was aching. If it was possible, she still hoped that little Tian would still be the little Tian in the past. The current little Tian seemed to be filled with too much killing intent. The scars on his face, the broken arm. All of these represented the many years of experience that he had gone through. Yihua looked at his own younger brother and unconsciously nodded his head. This is what a man should be like. In the past he was just a sissy, and Yi actually liked that kind of sissy. Right now this is what a hero should be like. If Yi was still alive, she might have liked him. As for Yi's matter, it was better not to tell little Tian. Although Yihua gave little Tian a broken jade, that broken jade would never respond to him. After all, Yi was already gone, and no one would break that broken jade. As for those people in the city, Yihua didn't mention them anymore, so he was slightly more at ease. However, Yihua also knew that the truth could not be concealed forever, and there would be a day when little Tian would find out about Yi's matter. After all, the reason why little Tian was able to go and train was all because of Yi. However, it was not easy for Gong Yu too. She had been raising a child by herself for so many years, and everyone knew how much hardship she had suffered. This was different from Donghuang Baiji back then. Donghuang Baiji had been raising a child by herself for 3 years, while Gong Yu had been raising a child for 12 years. Donghuang Baiji understood Gong Yu's feelings the most. However, the difference was that Donghuang Baiji held a grudge against Gong Yu for those 3 years, while Gong Yu was worried about Gong Yu. The 4 children looked at this unfamiliar uncle and seemed very surprised. Because they didn't know that this uncle actually looked exactly the same as their father. This is simply too mystical. No wonder Yi also looks so similar to their father, so it turns out that their father and uncle are exactly the same. But this uncle looks so powerful. His expression is so dignified. I feel that he is even cooler than my father. Yi Juetian walked out of the black hole and looked at the familiar palace. This palace would appear in his dreams every day. And of course, a beautiful figure would also appear in his dreams. Right now, I have completely changed and returned. I am no longer the Yi Juetian from before, and I have the strength to protect you. A soft sobbing sound attracted Yi Juetian's attention. Looking towards the source of the voice, Yi Juetian's entire body trembled. That's Gong Yu. Gong Yu was actually released by Big Brother. How could this be possible? But the boy beside Gong Yu, who is he? They look alike. Could it be? Although Yi Juetian was thinking of Yi in his heart, when he saw Gong Yu and Yi beside him, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Yi Juetian slowly walked up the stairs, and when he saw Gong Yu crying bitterly, he didn't know what he was feeling. In this world, not only Yi, there is also Gong Yu. This woman is also waiting for me to return home. At this moment, Yi looked at his unfamiliar father from a close distance. His gaze was very complicated. He missed his father, but he also had complaints. Why did he make his mother wait for so long? Father, don't you have your mother in your heart? Then why did I appear? Gong Yu. Yi Juetian slowly raised his left hand, wanting to touch Gong Yu's beautiful hair, but then he stopped. He felt that he had let Gong Yu down, and that he did not deserve this kind of action. Gong Yu, on the other hand, did not have that kind of thinking. While choking with sobs, she threw herself into Yi Juetian's embrace, and let out a happy yet sorrowful cry. Yi Juetian used his only left hand and lightly patted Gong Yu's back. I'm back. And I have been waiting for you to come back. I have been waiting for you every day. Gong Yu's voice was trembling, and this trembling seemed to be because she was afraid that everything in front of her was fake, and that this was her own dream. because this method of meeting, she had already dreamt of it countless of times, countless of times. Hearing Gong Yu's trembling voice, Yi Juetian's heart trembled. In actuality, when he was at the other side, the one he thought about the most was Yi, and Gong Yu was really very little. However, after seeing the current Gong Yu, only then did Yi Juetian know how much of a scumbag he was. I shouldn't disappoint Gong Yu, and also, quickly come over and greet father. Gong Yu finally remembered that her son was by her side, and hurriedly pulled her son over. Yi Juetian was only guessing just now, but after hearing Gong Yu personally say it, he was completely dumbfounded. I actually have a child. And it's already so big. No wonder Big Brother let Gong Yu out, so it was because Gong Yu was pregnant. Indeed, if Gong Yu wasn't pregnant, then Yi Juetian shouldn't be able to see Gong Yu here. Yi looked at the tall and big father in front of him, and wanted to call out the word father. But no matter what, he was unable to call out the word, to a child who had never seen his father before. This situation was indeed very normal, because Yi was very panic-stricken in his heart. Gong Yu, it has been hard on you for so many years. What is the child called? Yi Juetian looked at his own child. That child's appearance is extremely similar to me and Gong Yu, but the little fellow seems to be angry. It's no wonder that he would be angry after all. I only came back so late, and I let this mother and son live together for so many years. Juetian, the child's name is Yi, or quickly greet father. Gong Yu seemed to be a bit anxious. In this kind of situation, I cannot be so unruly, and Big Brother is still watching from the side. However, Yi's head was lowered, and he still didn't utter a single word, as if he was a bit autistic. When Yihua saw this scene, he didn't say anything. Towards Yi, this child, Yihua had watched him grow up, and Yi treated his mother very well, and was very filial. Right now, Yihua's ostracism towards his little brother was only temporary. After all, Yihua had just come back, and to the child, Yihua was no different from a stranger. You child. Gong Yu seemed to be a bit angry. My Yi is very sensible, but today he is acting so strangely. Gong Yu, it's all right, we still have to properly communicate with each other. Yi Juetian said with a slight smile, then stretched out his hand and stroked Yi's head. Luckily, Yi didn't avoid his father's stroking. Gong Yu nodded her head, then looked at her child confusedly. At this moment, Yi Juetian walked to Lu Jing's side, then bowed and shouted, "Mother, your unfilial son has returned. Sorry for making you worry." Lu Jing hurriedly held onto Yi Juetian's shoulders, then said with tears of joy, "It's good that you have returned. It's good that you have returned. Xiao Tian, it has been hard on you these past few years." "Mother, I have made you worry for so many years. Xiao Tian has been unfilial." "Silly child, your safety is mother's greatest joy," Lu Jing said tenderly. "Xiao Tian has truly grown up, and it is still Yihua who has a way to deal with him." Chapter 13:18. At this moment, Yi Juetian walked towards Yihua. After being separated for 12 years, the two brothers looked at each other. "Big brother, little brother didn't disappoint you?" Yi Juetian shouted respectfully. Yihua nodded his head. "Xiao Tian, you didn't disappoint big brother, good job." Hearing his big brother's praise, Yi Juetian felt that all these years that he had lived for was worth it. "Take a good bath later on, then bring your wife and child over to eat." Yihua patted onto his little brother's shoulder. "It really isn't easy." "Yes, big brother." "Are these big brother's children?" Yi Juetian looked at the four children. Yihua nodded his head. "What are you waiting for?" "Uncle." The four children obediently called out. Although they were not familiar with this strange uncle, they felt that he was quite easy to get along with, and was not a person of power. Yihua stood at the side and introduced the children. When Yi Juetian looked at his big brother's children, he couldn't help but feel moved in his heart. At that time, I knew that Big Brother told the children to rely on themselves. I reckon that it hasn't been long since Big Brother came back. Such a small child. Thinking about it, Big Brother is quite heartless. When I was at his age, I was still playing with mud. Yihua looked at the black hole, and waited for everyone. Of course, there was also a rather special person, and that person was the guardian. "Little Tian." "Big Brother, what's wrong?" What is the situation with the guardian that is following you all? Yihua asked faintly. Yi Juetian was puzzled. Big brother, you know about this? MNI absolute heaven, am the one who is tracking him. Yi Juetian had thought that his big brother had really abandoned the group of people, but I didn't expect that his big brother was also that kind of person who had a sharp mouth but a soft heart. He doesn't seem to know anything, Yi Juetian said in a low voice. You don't even know your own name? Yihua asked gravely. Yi Juetian nodded. Yes. How's his strength? Very strong. Yi Juetian could only give this answer. It was impossible for him to determine Xiao Chen's true strength, and he would only know after trying. Yihua didn't continue asking. There seems to be a bit of a problem with this guardian. At the very least, the other guardians know my name, while this guardian doesn't even remember my name. Let's wait and see first. Yihua transmitted a message to his subordinates, telling them to be on guard in case any accidents were to occur. The next person to walk out was Tang Wei. Compared to before, the current Tang Wei did not appear weak. Instead, she gave off a completely new aura, appearing just like a female god of death. Training in such a place could indeed change a person. After all, one had to face death every day. If one could not change this, then this person would be more awesome. Tang Wei glanced at Wei Chong, who was in the team. Wei Chong also did the same, his gaze locked onto Tang Wei. Sparks flew in the air as their gazes collided, but it was not the sparks of love. Wei Chong was taken aback. Because Tang Wei suddenly disappeared from where she stood, a scarlet long blade suddenly appeared in her hand, and directly chopped towards Wei Chong. Everyone was stunned by this sudden incident. Dong Huangli was very confused. Didn't Uncle Wei and Tang Wei have a very good relationship? Why did Tang Wei kill Uncle Wei the moment she came back? Did Uncle Wei find a mistress? It was possible. Although Tang Wei looked soft and weak, she was still very conservative in this aspect. As for how his father could look for him so openly, perhaps it was because his mother spoiled him. Or perhaps, it was because his father's acting skills were too good, he was able to deceive his mother every single time. Wei Chong seemed to know why Tang Wei was like this. Back then I was in my betrayal period, and it was also during that period that Tang Wei went to train. Seems like Tang Wei's temper was very big. If not, I will chop down on Wei Chong to calm down. After all, I am also a bit in the wrong. Wei Chong did not move at all, and allowed Tang Wei to chop down on him. The ferocious long blade emitted out a scorching aura, and Wei Chang's hair was blown into a mess by the aura of the blade. Whoosh. At this moment, the world seemed to have quietened down. This is too scary. Tang Wei's long blade stopped on top of Wei Chang's head, almost splitting open his head. Why didn't you dodge? Tang Wei asked coldly. Wei Chang stared at Tang Wei, then suddenly stretched out his hand and hugged onto Tang Wei's waist. And then he actually kissed Tang Wei in front of everyone. The single dogs felt their hearts clenching. Kissing in front of his honor. This is simply too savage. If you have the ability, find me a girlfriend and do this too. Not right, you seems to have returned. Perhaps, if she doesn't like Ju Tian anymore, I will be able to snatch her away. Thinking about it, there seems to be a bit of a possibility. God Yi suddenly held onto Lu Xian's small hand tightly, causing Lu Xian's heart to tremble. What is this fellow trying to do? Could it be that he wants to learn from Uncle Wei and kiss? Isn't this too fast? No, I must reject him. But with so many people rejecting God Yi, it seems like they are not giving God Yi any face. The kiss seemed to be very long, and everyone stopped looking at it. In front of everyone, at this moment, Yihong walked out from the black hole. Compared to the past, Yihong appeared to be very calm and steady, and seemed to have a sense of responsibility. Furthermore, there was even a strong sense of self-confidence, which was not present in the past. When Zishan saw that Yihong appeared and did not have any broken arms or legs, she was incomparably happy and immediately rushed over. With tears at the corner of her eyes, Zishan floated in the air. Yihong naturally saw Zishan as well, and her stern face that was filled with killing intent became gentle. Zishan opened up her arms and tightly hugged onto her lover, as if she wanted to fuse into her lover's body. Alright, they kissed again. Next, it was time for Li Hun to appear. When Do Fusher saw that his wife had returned, he was so happy. You two are kissing. I am going to give my wife a hug and a kiss too. Thus, Do Fusher also rushed over. However, an accident happened. Li Hun, who was very strong, actually pressed onto Do Fusher. This caused Do Fusher to be dumbfounded. Wife, what are you doing? What am I doing? You went out to fool around, and there was no news of you at all, so why are you still asking me? When did I go out to fool around? On the other hand, you have already been out for 12 years. Li Hun snorted, then forcefully kissed Do Fusher without saying anything else. This caused Do Fusher to feel both happy and depressed. Why is it that Li Hun is the one who takes the initiative every time? Am I Do Fusher not a man? Do I Do Fusher not care about face? I Do Fusher am also a respectable person, alright? And I even did it in front of so many big shots. Soon after, 3 beautiful figures walked out. Lai Gu's eyes lit up. My wife has returned. All of you are giving me a French kiss. I have to go and kiss them as well. All of you kiss 1, I Lai Gu will kiss 3. This is how strong I am, the kind of strength that needs no explanation. The entire scene seemed to have turned into a sea of passionate kisses. Gong Yu covered her son's eyes, but her gaze was also looking towards Yi Juetian. It seemed like Yi Juetian also wanted to receive a kiss from Yi Juetian, even if it was just a light tap on the lips of Yi Juetian. However, Yi Juetian didn't seem to have such thoughts, and this caused Gong Yu to feel a bit down. Chapter 13:19. Yi Yi, who was at the side, seemed to be able to sense his mother's depression and said softly, Father, mother also wants to. Gong Yu went into a daze, and immediately her face and ears turned red. This Yi, or how could you say it out loud? Yi Juetian went into a daze. My son actually called me just now. Oh my God. Your father knows. Yi Juetian smiled. After that, he glanced at Gong Yu. Gong Yu immediately lowered her head shyly, not daring to look straight at him. However, Yi Juetian gently lifted Gong Yu's chin. Gong Yu closed her eyes tightly, the nervousness in her heart as if this was the first time she had kissed him. Yi looked at his parents and finally, a smile appeared on his face. God, Yi finally could not take it anymore. He turned his head and kissed her, causing Lu Xiener's eyes to almost pop out. This guy really kissed her. If she pushed him away, it would definitely not work. Bastard. To actually choose this time, how shameless. Couples seem to be infected at this moment. They all hugged and kissed each other to express their love for each other. However, Yihua didn't do that. He was silently looking at his subordinates. If a subordinate's emotions were stable, that would mean the stability of the team. In the past, these fellows didn't have any emotions at all, and right now, for them to be able to bring out their emotions to such an extent, it is truly not easy. Dong Huangli and Yi Yan looked at their father and mother. At a time like this, shouldn't the two of you do something? Dad, you are the eldest. You have to take the lead. Dong Huangli thought to herself, father and mother couldn't have gotten into a conflict, right? At this moment, Qingya and the others also looked at Yihua, and when they discovered that Yihua actually didn't move at all, Qingya and the others became angry in their hearts. Could it be that you want us to take the initiative to send ourselves to him? Using Yihua's words, this is your honor. Lu Jing looked at her eldest son and daughter-in-law and sighed in her heart. Although they seemed to be together all these years, she felt that there was a gap between them. This wasn't a good situation. A happy marriage required two people to manage and maintain it. Looking at Yihua and the others, their feelings for each other were getting weaker and weaker. Just looking at them makes me feel vexed. Lu Jing was not the only one who was worried. Even the children were a little worried. Their parents were really abnormal. As a daughter and son, they had to help their parents. Once again, a beautiful figure walked out of the black hole, causing absolute heaven to be overjoyed. Of course, there was also the pig liver prawn. The two of them actually rushed forward at the same time. This made everyone feel that there would be a good show to watch. These two fellows were going to fight today. Dongfang Yuan stepped out of the black hole, and the first thing that entered her eyes was Zhu Tian, and it was even pig liver tongue. In terms of appearance, absolute heaven was much better than pig liver mantis. If it were not for the fact that he had arms and legs, He would really look like a pig. You or your back, Ju Tian and Pig Liver Centipede said at the same time. After that, the two men glared at each other. Dongfang Yuan looked at Ju Tian and said gently, Ju Tian, I'm back. Alright then, it would seem that Absolute Heaven was still the victor of the first round. After all, the emotions were right there. How could Pig Liver Dinglong interfere? Absolute Heaven coldly snorted as he looked at the Pig Liver Hyena. You are even thinking about my woman? Are you courting death? Hence, Absolute Heaven immediately embraced Dongfang Yu and declared his sovereignty without saying anything further. This is my, Absolute Heaven's woman. Whoever dares to touch her, I won't even give face to the Heavenly Emperor. Pig Liver Macaque was so angry. He originally thought that Dongfang Yuan had gone to train, but that was because he was angry. Perhaps after 12 years, his feelings for her had faded. In the end, I didn't expect that not only did this feeling not fade, it even solidified a little. If that's the case, wouldn't I have no chance at all? What is so good about this Absolute Heaven? Isn't he just a little handsome? Can being handsome be used to make a living these days? Pig Liver Macaque, this is the beauty of the soul. What do you know about the beauty of the soul? This is such a sublime kind of beauty that you actually don't know how to appreciate it. Just look at that blue sky red. There are women who can understand his beauty of the soul. Why is there no one who can understand my, Pig Liver Macaque's, beauty of the soul? Pig Liver Macaque, don't believe it. How about listening to me say a few words? Ignored, the two of you are more or less done. Kissing each other like this in front of an outsider. Let me finish my words. Pig Liver Macaque said gravely. He really doesn't give me any face at all. Dongfang Yuan finally let go of Ju Tian, then looked at Pig Liver Macaque and said, I'm sorry, you are a good person. Pig Liver Macaque. What is a true team? That is bad friends. Following Dongfang Yuan's words, everyone stopped kissing and actually burst into laughter. A trace of a smile appeared on Yihua's face. This is the relationship between Ju Tian and Dongfang Yuan. How can you possibly step in? Don't even think about it. The Pig Liver Macaque stared blankly at Dongfang Yu. This was simply too frivolous. Women are all big pig trotters. They all like handsome men. They are all superficial. I won't give up. Pig Liver Mantis said solemnly. He even looked at Ju Tian and said in a deep voice, Pig Liver Mantis, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I just like your wife. Everyone. At this moment, Yihua said gravely, Pig Liver Roast, it's almost done. Since his honor has already spoken, Pig Liver Macaque looked at Ju Tian and snorted coldly. You clearly already have Brett, and there's still another one called what's his name, and yet you are still forcibly occupying Dongfang Yu. You are such a greedy man, and yet Dongfang Yu actually likes you. Why does no one like my pig liver? In this age where people look at their faces. After the Pig Liver Macaque left, Ju Tian lightly held onto Dongfang Yu's delicate hand, walked to his seat, and wait for the guardian. Furthermore, it was the finale. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then looked at the black hole silently. Right now, Ren Yao still didn't know what was going on, but a familiar aura entered into her brain, causing her eyes to reveal a look of surprise. This aura, could it be? A man who was wearing a black gown slowly walked out of the black hole, and a powerful pressure was emitted from his body, seemingly as if he was trying to show off his power. There was no fear in his eyes, and he seemed very ordinary. Even when facing Yihua and the others who were using cheats, there wasn't a single bit of apprehension in the slightest. Towards the guardian that suddenly appeared, the entire team was very surprised. This guardian is different from Ren Yao. Yihua even felt that this guardian is a bit more different from that Su Jiao and that execution ground. Furthermore, it isn't just a bit more different. Big brother, this is that guardian. Yi Juetian said in a low voice. This guardian, do you think that he is kind or malicious? Yihua asked faintly. Yi Juetian wrinkled his brows. Thinking about how he and the others had been saved by the guardian before, he said, I think that he should be kind. Little Tian, you can't judge a person by their appearance. Perhaps he was trapped in that place, and he used the same method that he used to save you all to come out from that place. Yihua said boldly. Yi Juetian's expression sunk. That shouldn't be the case, right? In this world, there is nothing that is absolute, and all kinds of accidents exist. Chapter 1320. Just as the two brothers were chatting, the guardian looked towards Ren Yao, and Ren Yao also looked towards the guardian. The two of them seemed to have some sort of connection. Ren Yao looked as if he had lost his soul as he slowly walked towards the guardian. This scene caused everyone to go into a daze. Soon after, they adjusted their state of mind and prepared to face the unexpected situation. Ren Yao, what are you doing? Yi Zizi suddenly shouted out. However, Ren Yao still walked towards the guardian woodenly. Yi Zizi felt that Ren Yao was her little brother, so how could she allow anything to happen to Ren Yao? Her petite body immediately rushed over, seemingly wanting to stop Ren Yao's strange actions. However, a black figure suddenly appeared behind Ren Yao, blocking in front of Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi was not a kind person, and she immediately swung her fist towards the guardian. I'm not bragging, but if this fist were to hit the guardian would definitely lose his life. After all, everyone present at the scene had to admit that Yi Zizi's fist was rather hard. Even the guardian wouldn't be able to withstand it. But, bang! A muffled sound suddenly rang out, and a berserk gale spread out with the two of them as the center. Looking at this situation, everyone was astonished. Even Yi Zizi revealed an expression of disbelief, because the guardian in front of her actually used his palm to receive the fist. Just like rock, paper, scissors, the paper won. Your strength is not small. The guardian looked at Yi Zizi and said faintly, although Yi Zizi was very shocked, that fist just now was just a normal attack. If you have the ability, receive my second fist, the second fist that will take your life. Zizi, come back. Yi Hua said faintly. Looking at the current situation, it seems like I can stop some bad things. But so what? Some things need to be settled, and not stopped. Only by settling things can I feel at ease. Yi Zizi turned her head around and looked at Yi Hua with a puzzled look in her eyes. Why come back? Yi Hua shouted out again. This is clearly an order, and I'm not joking around with you, Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi looked at the guardian in front of her, and with a heavy breath, she snorted coldly and returned to the group. The guardian silently took a look at Yi Hua, then placed his hand on Ren Yao's shoulder. A beautiful radiance suddenly spread out, and Yi Hua could feel that this was a very strong power. What was this guardian doing? What he wanted to do was to make Ren Yao perfect. After all, Ren Yao was an imperfect guardian. If her strength was halved, nothing would taste good. But now, to Ren Yao, the half of the power that had disappeared was continuously flowing into her body. It felt like she had become a human, not a half-human, half-ghost. Everyone was also very surprised. Was imparting power like this? This guardian was a little too amazing. Just how strong must it be to be able to transmit so much energy in one go? Yi Hua waited silently and did not say anything. As for Yi Hua's subordinates, as long as Yi Hua gave the order, they would be able to press these two guardians onto the ground and rub them against each other. However, Yi Hua didn't say anything all this while, and this caused the subordinates to not dare to act rashly. Could it be that he was just going to watch? That was obviously the case. After about 10 minutes, the brilliance gradually dimmed. Yi Hua slightly narrowed his eyes. I want to see what exactly this person is trying to do. If he could do it now, that would be for the best. He would be able to settle it immediately and prevent any future troubles. Right now, Ren Yao seemed to have become much more clear-headed. Looking at her hands, countless power seemed to be surging out from her body. This feeling, seems to be able to be lawless. If Yi Zizi were to throw another punch at me, I definitely have the confidence to receive it. As a guardian, to actually lose half of your strength, this is truly a shame. The guardian said faintly. This sentence was clearly meant to lecture Ren Yao. What are you doing? Ren Yao didn't seem to dare to refute. Not knowing why, she didn't dare to refute, as if the man in front of her was her boss, and she had to listen to him. If not, the consequences would be very serious. At this moment, Yi Hua asked faintly, Guardian, what are you trying to do? The guardian's gaze shifted towards Yi Hua, and without a trace of fear he said faintly, I am merely looking for my companions. And then? What and then? The guardian asked. And then what do you plan to do? And then? I haven't thought about it clearly yet, but perhaps I will think of it after I have found all of my companions. The guardian raised his head and looked at the sky, appearing to be at a loss. Hearing that, Yihua remained silent for a while, then said faintly, "Go and look for them then." "Naturally," the guardian said lightly. "Could it be that I still have to stay and eat with them?" Towards this guardian, Yi Juetian and the others had lived together for 12 years. If one were to say that they didn't have any feelings for the guardian, that would be impossible. However, the guardian seemed to know what those people wanted to say, and he said, "I only saved you all for the sake of coming out. There are only benefits between us. There are no other factors. Therefore there is no need to say anything." Following the guardian's words, everyone who had just returned became speechless. Is it really only because of benefits? Back then, when you saved us, you didn't know that there was a guardian here, so at that time, what was the reason for you to save us? Could it be that you didn't do it out of kindness? However, facing the cold-hearted guardian, everyone didn't seem to have any plans to say anything. I feel a bit disappointed in my heart, and also a bit stifled. Wasn't Renyao the same as well? I have lived here with everyone for 12 years, and right now, I am going to leave just like that. I am truly a bit reluctant to part with this place. However, there are some things that I really have no choice about. If I am allowed to choose, perhaps, living here forever is also a pretty good choice. However, Renyao knew that perhaps in my next life, I might be able to fulfill my wish, but in this life, I might not be able to. Goodbye, this adorable imperial palace. Farewell forever. My friends the guardian and Renyao disappeared from where they were just like that. And no one knew where they went. However, Yihua knew that the next time they meet, it would be a situation where they would have to fight to the death. Today there would be a reunion, and there would also be a separation. However, the joy of the former was more than the sorrow of the latter. I will think about the future matters in the future. Right now, I have to properly celebrate the children's return. Celebrate the return of all of my subordinates. All right, let's go and eat. We will settle this matter after we eat. Yihua said faintly, then turned around and left by himself. The children discovered that the current father, when did he become a loner? He seems to be a bit unsociable. Why didn't mother say anything at all? Look at how much pressure father is under right now. Mother shouldn't be acting like this. She should be empathizing with father. Chapter 13:21. Sigh. The children hurriedly caught up to Yihua and used their own methods to communicate with their father. Daddy, how about we let Yener handle this matter? Daddy, I can help you as well. Dong Huangli said seriously at the side. I am no longer a child now, and I can take charge of things by myself. God Yi and Yi Lu also expressed that they can help their father as well. This way, their father won't have to work so hard. Yihua could feel the children's concern, and his heart felt warm. This is much better than your mother. Children, Daddy naturally knows what you all are thinking in your hearts. However, the opponent this time is not someone that you all can handle. Therefore, let Daddy do it. However, this will be the last time Daddy will help you all. In the future, you all will have to settle things by yourselves, understand? Hearing what their father said, why do the children feel that their father is planning to retire? Indeed, Yihua indeed wants to retire. Sometimes, when I feel tired, I really want to have a good rest. I don't have to think about those troublesome matters, and I don't have to think about what will happen in the future. Right now, the children already have the ability to take responsibility. I can be more at ease, because the children and subordinates are returning. Yihua planned to hold a big celebration, and the scale was just like having a reunion dinner. Blood Demon was also happy to do so. After all, little sovereign has returned. It should be. Right now, there was even a specialized banquet hall in the palace for groups to celebrate during festivals. There was a KTV, and the gorgeous disco lighting made the place look extremely retro. Right now, a unique rhythm sounded out from the speakers, and it seemed very cheerful. The subordinates were dancing on the dance floor, and everyone's face was filled with joy. Suddenly, the music changed, and it became a bit romantic. Needless to say, Pairs of couples were hugging each other and lightly swaying, expressing their love for each other. Even God Yi was among them, hugging the shy Lu Xiener. If they put in more effort, 10 months later, they might really be able to give birth to a grandson for Donghuang Baiji. Yi Hua would also have a third generation. What an exciting thing. Using Yi Hua's words, the flame of the Supreme Overlord will never extinguish. Right now, Yi Juetian was hugging Gong Yu and lightly swaying. Although he didn't know how to dance, he was still able to sway along with the music. Right now, the most important thing was to experience that romantic atmosphere. There were also cameras recording the good times. However, Yi Hua didn't go over to make love with his wife. Instead, he sat by himself at the side, drank a little wine, smoked a little cigarette, and seemed to be very happy. Qingya and the others were sitting not far away from Yi Hua, and they were currently chatting with each other in low voices. However, none of them went to coax Yi Hua. This wasn't the first time such a situation had happened. It had been like this for the past few years. The subordinates were all worried that his honor and his honor's wife would break up with each other. Dong Huangli couldn't stand watching anymore. Daddy looks so pitiful. Why is mommy like this? Wasn't your relationship very good in the past? Even if you quarreled, you would make up in a very short period of time. But now this is simply the prelude to a divorce. Dong Huangli didn't want to see her father and mother getting divorced. Therefore, she hurriedly arrived in front of Donghuang Baiji and said solemnly, "Mom, I have something to tell you." Seeing that her daughter had come over, Donghuang Baiji immediately revealed out a happy smile. "Ali, what's the matter? Is it because there's a boy you like, but you're too shy to say it?" "Mom, please be a bit serious. I'm very serious," Dong Huangli said solemnly. This matter was related to the harmony of the family. Donghuang Baiji went into a daze, then nodded her head. "All right, Mom will be serious. Ali, you go ahead and tell me." "Mom, are you planning to leave Dad?" Dong Huangli asked straightforwardly. This caused Qingya and the others who were beside her to go into a daze. Donghuang Baiji slowly returned back to normal, then rubbed onto her daughter's forehead. "Silly child. What are you talking about? How can Mom possibly leave Dad? Then, aren't you paving the way for Dad to leave you right now?" Dong Huangli said gravely. Dong Huangli felt that every couple would ignore each other, because they were in a cold war. After a long time, their feelings would fade, and by then, they would have nothing left. No matter how strong their love was, it wouldn't be able to withstand this kind of consumption. Just like right now, Mom feels that it's fine, but Dad feels tired. If Dad gets tired that day and doesn't want you anymore, you will know that you were wrong. "Mom, I don't," Donghuang Baiji said subconsciously. Dong Huangli pointed at the dance floor, then pointed at Dad. "Mom, look, you don't." The more Dong Huangli spoke, the angrier Dong Huangli became. "As the boss, there are a lot of things that I have to deal with tomorrow, and I have to make plans for the future. Mom, it's fine if you don't want to help Dad, but you even chose to watch Dad when he was lonely. Ali is truly disappointed in me." Looking at Ali, who left in a fit of pique, Donghuang Baiji didn't expect that right after her daughter came back, she would immediately start lecturing me, and furthermore, it was all for her father, Yi Hua. Back then, it was your heartless father who abandoned you all in the distant south, and even told us not to go and visit you all. Not only did you not blame Dad, you even blamed Mom for neglecting Dad. As expected, Mom is always here to deliver express delivery. Donghuang Baiji took a look at Yi Hua. Perhaps it was because Donghuang Baiji was enlightened by her daughter's words. She felt that the current Yi Hua was a bit pitiful. Look at how happy the subordinates are. And yet, this boss is actually sitting at the side and drinking wine to drown his sorrows. Meanwhile, the four madams were just watching from the side. Donghuang Baiji didn't know when this kind of situation started, but it gradually became a kind of habit. Once this kind of habit was formed, it seemed that it would be impossible to change it. In actuality, what Ali said is very correct. Qing Yutong agreed with what Dong Huangli said. If this continues on, it will indeed not be good for the relationship between husband and wife. Qian Yuqing nodded her head. In the past, I had always been thinking about Yi Hua, but ever since I wasn't able to conceive a child, there had been a grudge in my heart. Perhaps it was because of this that I got angry, and coupled with Yihua not coaxing me, it resulted in the current situation. So what do you plan to do? Shall we go over and coax him? Qingye looked at Yihua's side view, and in actuality, she was feeling a bit of pain in her heart as well. Dong Huangli's words really woke the four women up. Don't be too arrogant. When the time comes, Daddy doesn't want you all anymore. You all will know that you were wrong, and you all will also know how lucky you all were in the past. However, just when the four women were preparing to move, Lai Gu rushed in front of Yihua, directly pulled onto Yihua's hand, and just like that, he dragged Yihua onto the dance floor. The children were all stupefied by what they saw. Uncle Lai Gu still has such a trick up his sleeve? However, it was only at this moment that Yihua wouldn't get angry, and he would even tease him a bit. Your Honor, how about we dance awkwardly? Lai Gu grinned and said. Chapter 13:22. His Honor knows how to awkwardly dance? That doesn't exist. Therefore, I want to see His Honor's embarrassing state. After all, it isn't that easy to see His Honor's embarrassing state, and the opportunity to see His Honor's embarrassing state was hard to come by. Upon hearing Lai Gu's suggestion, everyone immediately became alert. Your Honor, awkward dance, Your Honor, awkward dance. Yihua laughed lightly. Since the two of you have chosen to dance awkwardly, come on then. I, the Supreme Overlord, will naturally not spoil the fun. Of course, Yihua wouldn't reject his subordinates. In any case, they were all family, there was nothing to be shy about. However, awkward dance, this is still something new. I don't think I have ever done it before, Sai. These are all tricks that youngsters play. I, the Supreme Overlord, am already old, and I can't really play around with them anymore. Daddy, you can do it. Yian shouted, cheering for me. As expected of Yihua's good son. Yihua laughed helplessly. Come on, don't be embarrassed. They were going to die of embarrassment anyway. All of Yihua's subordinates moved away from the dance floor, and only Yihua and Lai Gu remained on the dance floor. There was no way that Yihua would go easy on His Honor. This kind of opportunity was very hard to come by. After this period of time, I won't be able to tease His Honor anymore. Pig's liver, let's see if you can explode. Everyone. Needless to say, the pig liver centipede really knew how to speak. It immediately started to show its tone, but the people around it immediately dispersed. This idiot didn't even cover his mouth. The saliva in his mouth was flying everywhere. Eat, eat, eat. Yihua and Lai Gu looked towards the pig liver macaque. Do you only know how to eat, eat, eat? The pig liver that already had no longer has anything left to live for, was only thinking about having a body that was similar to Ching Su's. This way, he would be able to fill up the pain in his heart. Who would be able to understand this kind of pain, Sai? Forget it, you guys are embarrassed. Yihua took the opportunity to find an excuse and hurriedly slipped away. Just now, I had agreed to it on a whim. Now that I think about it, it really is a bit embarrassing. Lai Gu suddenly suggested. Your Honor, why don't you dance with your wife and let subordinates broaden their horizons? This Lai Gu is really touching my sore spot. Doesn't he know that His Honor and your wife are having a conflict right now? However, Lai Gu also wanted to use this kind of method to make His Honor and His Honor's wife reconcile with each other. Boss's family is blissful, and his mood would naturally be good. As expected, when Lai Gu's words came out, everyone looked towards your wife. Because His Honor is definitely willing to do it, but the problem is, Madam is definitely not willing to do it. It has already been a few years since I have seen His Honor and Madam interact with each other. Now that the children have returned, Madam will definitely give His Honor face, right? Dance, dance, dance. All of Qingye's subordinates immediately lit up the scene. Even if Qingye and the others didn't want to, they had no choice but to go up. After all, they still had to give Qingye face. In addition to what Dong Huangli had just said, the situation was even more so. Qingye took a look at Dong Huangbaiji. With the current situation, it's time for me to go, right? However, just who is going to go? The four women looked at each other. It seems that after being ordinary for so many years, suddenly becoming like this, seems like I'm a bit not used to it. Yihua looked at his woman and sighed in his heart. The shouts that were transmitted to Yihua's ears made Yihua a bit irritated. Forget it. Yi Hua said faintly, then walked out of the dance floor. All of Yi Hua's subordinates immediately quietened down. I feel that the relationship between His Honor and Madam seems to have cooled down again. Listening to His Honor's tone, all of them went into a daze. The children sighed in their hearts. The relationship between father and mother seems to be even worse than what we imagined. If this continues, something bad will definitely happen. Lu Xiener pulled on to Godyi, who was beside her, and asked concernedly, "Have your father and mother always been like this?" "No, when I left home when I was young, their relationship was still very good," Godyi said lightly. He completely didn't know why things were like this. "Seems like I have to ask Big Sister to hold a pep rally and make the relationship between my parents better." "Big Sister, what should we do? Why do I feel that something is amiss?" Yi Yan, who was standing beside Dong Huangli, said softly. "What else can we do? Mother is not giving father any face at all." Dong Huangli was a bit angry. "Look at how pitiful father is. Mother is doing this, and sooner or later, she will regret it." Yi Yan sighed lightly. "That's right, we are already an old married couple. Yet mother is still making it hard for father to get out of this embarrassing situation. Mother is even more immature than us." "That's right, we still have to think of a way. Big Sister, I heard that father, aunt, and Aunt Yuqing are unable to get pregnant. Not only father, everyone else is the same. How about you make a pregnancy medicine? Perhaps the situation might change." Yi Yan suggested. Dong Huangli wrinkled her brows. "That's not right. I seem to remember that I gave a packet of medicine to Aunt last time." "Hurry up and go and ask her then." Dong Huangli hurriedly went to look for Qing Yutong, then pulled Qing Yutong to the side. "Ali, what's wrong?" Qing Yutong's expression was also gloomy, but when she saw Ali, she revealed out a smile and asked, "Aunt, do you still remember the medicine that I gave you back then? The medicine that can make you get pregnant?" Qing Yutong nodded her head. "I remember, it's just that I lost the medicine that you gave me." "Ah." Dong Huangli's head started aching. However, Qing Yutong didn't have much hope in Qing Yutong. After all, during these few years, Qing Su had tried to make a lot of medicines, but none of them were effective. Suddenly, Qing Yutong felt that Ali was different. Perhaps Ali is able to make it. After all, Qing Su still wants to look for Ali to become his disciple. "Ali, can you make it again?" "I can only do this." "Say, just what is going on with you, mother, and the others? Is there a need for you to make things like this with father?" Dong Huangli said angrily, then left. Qing Yutong's head was also aching. What Ali said is indeed correct. I shouldn't have made things like this with brother-in-law. But this matter is hard to say. Big Sister and Baiji. Just now, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were preparing to go and dance, but Yihua's words caused them to become angry once again. "If you don't want to dance, then don't dance. I really suspect that these women's menopause has long arrived." Following the situation of His Honor and his wife, the atmosphere of the dance became a bit cold. This year, the commotion was especially fierce. Furthermore, after His Honor returned, His Honor and his wife were able to bury the hatchet. But who would have thought that this would be adding oil to the fire? Yi Juetian looked at his big brother and sister-in-law, and he had a stupefied look on his face. How did the situation become like this? Just what happened when I wasn't around? Gongyu, just what is going on? Why did the situation become so fierce? Yi Juetian asked in a low voice. Gongyu said in a light voice with a bit of worry. Big brother and sister-in-law were still fine a few years ago, but after Yutong and Yuqing were unable to get pregnant, the situation erupted. It has been like this for the past few years, and we didn't dare to go and talk to them. Mother also went and talked to them before, but it was completely useless. Now that the child has returned, it seems like the situation has not improved at all. Chapter 13:23. What should we do? Yi Juetian rubbed his forehead. In the past, it was his feelings that had a problem, but now, it was actually his big brother that had a problem. It seemed that no matter who it was, they would be stumped when it came to love. Gongyu raised her head slightly and looked at her husband. She was pondering whether she should tell her husband about Yi. She wanted to tell her husband because, after all, her husband had the right to know. However, her rationality told her that she couldn't tell her husband because the current situation was very good. If she told him, the current feeling would disappear again. Do Fusher, go and sing a song to liven things up, Absolute Heaven said softly. At this moment, they needed to liven things up. They could not continue being so dull. Floating World Do was naturally amusing. Otherwise, why would he be the one to look for trouble? Go and sing. Li Hun, who was at the side, poked her husband. Hurry up and display your comical side. Make his honor and his honor's wife laugh. Do Fusher hurriedly walked out. He knew that it was time for him to display his strength. Everyone singing can wait. Do Fusher would like to answer a riddle. Riddles. They had never played this before, and it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Hurry up and say it. Don't waste my time. Do Fusher nodded with a smile and asked, what is it that grows fur and peels off a layer of skin as it grows? Everyone was stunned. As males, they seemed to have thought of something. As a female, she glared fiercely at Do Fusher. This was simply driving at the slightest disagreement. Li Hun was having a headache. I told you to tease his honor and his honor's wife to be happy, and yet you actually said something like this. Do you want to die? Do Fusher hurriedly said. Look at your expressions. All of you are thinking in a crooked way. It's corn, your brains are filled with unhealthy things. Everyone was speechless. Thinking about the growth of corn, it seemed to be true. Laughter suddenly rang out in the audience. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice, and to their surprise, they discovered that the one who laughed out loud was actually Little Sovereign's girlfriend, Lucienne. When Lucienne saw that everyone was staring at her, her pretty face immediately felt as if it was on fire. I am no longer pure. What am I thinking about? Gadi asked calmly. Sienne, what are you thinking about? I didn't think of anything. Then why were you laughing just now? Please don't say anything. Lucienne hid behind Gadi. Just what kind of place is this? Okay, this is a grown-up place. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. This Do Fusher is not bad, as expected of me, the supreme overlord, to take him in back then. When Do Fusher saw that his honor actually smiled, he decided that he had to put in more effort. At this moment, Lai Gu was unconvinced. Do Fusher, if you have the ability, come up with another question. I will definitely be able to answer you. As Lai Gu said that, he secretly opened Baidu. However, Yu Hua directly took over Lai Gu's phone. Alright, answer a question for me to see. Yu Hua, just whose side are you on? Lai Gu said helplessly. Are we still husband and wife? Is there anyone who plays like this? Do Fusher said in a serious tone. The next one is scary. You'll get sick if something gets in, so you have to clean it. Everyone. Needless to say, his subordinates were actually discussing it. This was definitely a serious riddle, but they didn't know what it was. Big brother, do you know what it is? Do Fusher was very arrogant now. He actually shouted towards Lai Gu. Lai Gu pursed his lips. If you have the ability, then tell me the answer, don't talk nonsense. At this moment, Gadi hugged onto Lucienne, and asked curiously, Sienner, do you know what it is? I don't know. Lucienne hurriedly said. You really don't know? Do you already have the answer in your head? Gadi, if you continue to be so bad, I won't like you anymore. Gadi suddenly realized that teasing girls is actually very interesting. Do Fusher said helplessly. You don't even know about this? His honor said to use our brains. It's contact lenses. Hearing such an answer, the corner of everyone's mouth twitched slightly. That's enough. This is even possible. However, just as Do Fusher was preparing to continue, Blood Demon, who was wearing a white gown, walked out and said respectfully, Your Honor, the food is ready. Yi Hua nodded his head. Alright, let's go and eat first. We won't go back until we are drunk. Everyone, obediently drink your wine. Yes, Your Honor. Everyone shouted out in unison. This was also the rule of the gathering. When drinking, one must not use one's strength, because only when one was drunk would the atmosphere be perfect. If one didn't get drunk, then what was the point of drinking? Lucienne was a bit confused. Why must one get drunk? God Yi felt that this was an opportunity that his father created for him. If a girl doesn't get drunk, how can a boy have a chance? Furthermore, in order to achieve the goal of getting drunk, Yihua specially instructed them to make a special type of wine. After all, the bodies of his subordinates were all very strong, and ordinary wine wasn't a problem for them. Seeing that all of his subordinates were present, Yihua felt a bit more comfortable in his heart. Although his wives were sitting beside him, the feeling was still the same, cold and indifferent. I might as well look at my subordinates and be happy. Yihua's table consisted of his wives and children, and they belonged to his family. 7 Deadly Sins table naturally had other subordinates as well. Yihua poured a cup of wine for himself. The subordinates all saw that his honor was pouring wine for himself, and not his honor's wife pouring wine for his honor. One must know that in the past, his honor's wife would be serving his honor by the side, but now, that doesn't exist anymore. From this, it could be seen that his honor's current love life isn't very perfect. Furthermore, if it was in the past, his honor would definitely teach his honor well, but looking at the current him, he can't even be bothered to do so. Right now, his honor is even prepared to give up on his treatment. Everyone say a few words. Yihua stood up and said gravely. The subordinates all raised their cups and stood up, appearing very dignified. For so many years, every year's gathering has never been perfect. However, today is different. Not a single one of you came back. I am also very happy and emotional today. Speaking up to here, Yihua slightly paused for a moment. Happy is naturally because of the reunion, and emotional is because it isn't easy to get together. We are a group, but we are more like a big family. Therefore, for the sake of our big family, cheers! Cheers! The subordinates shouted out in unison. To be able to have such an imposing manner just by drinking wine, as expected of the drunkard that Yihua brought up. Evidently, a cup of wine didn't exist. As a boss, it was very normal for his subordinates to toast him. In the past, Qingye would still block a few cups of wine, but now, that was no longer possible. Yihua didn't need to. In any case, he had already gotten used to it after all these years. Chapter 13:24. Next up was the drinking competition. This was also a tradition. As long as it was a festival like this, everyone would basically fall. If they didn't fall, it meant that the atmosphere was not up to the standard. And today, it was even more lively. After all, a lot of people had returned, and all of their emotions were contained in the alcohol. In the past, they would only drink to Yihua, but now that Yi Yan and God Yi had returned, they naturally had to drink to them as well. The 2 sons even had to help their father block the alcohol, and the most awesome one was Ali. She could drink a lot. Yilu was a bit lacking. After blocking a few cups of alcohol for her father, she felt a bit dizzy. No matter what, Lu Xiener was God Yi's girlfriend, and in the future, she would be Little Honor's wife. Perhaps because they weren't familiar with each other, they didn't joke around too much, but Lu Xiener still felt a bit dizzy. Seems like God Yi has a chance today. Your Honor, do you want to have a drink with your wife? Lai Gu started talking nonsense under the influence of alcohol. The faces of Qingye and the others were all red, but they weren't drunk yet. On the other hand, Yihua was a bit tipsy. After all, he drank quite a bit of alcohol just now, and his head was a bit dizzy. That's right, Your Honor should have a drink with your wife. Even Wei Chang, who didn't speak often, shouted out. Tang Wei, who was at the side, was also tipsy and fell onto Wei Chang's body. Seems like Wei Chang has a chance tonight too. Not only Wei Chang, Zishan had also fallen onto Yi Hong's embrace. Gong Yu had also fallen onto Yi Ju Tian's embrace, and Dong Fengyu had also fallen onto Yi Ju Tian's embrace. I really want to take Yihua's place and ask for poison from Qing Su to poison Ju Tian to death. No. I want to sterilize that damned cat Ju Tian. In any case, almost all of the ladies had fallen onto their loved ones. As for what would happen tonight, of course, it would be to express their love. Probably only Yihua, the boss, didn't have a beauty in his embrace anymore. That was why Lai Gu couldn't help but shout out, "Mom, go." Dong Huangli was cheering for her mom. Dad is the boss, so he should at least have some face. Only sensible women will be liked by men. Mom is a bit immature. Hearing her daughter's words, Dong Huang Baiji didn't have any reaction. Just because Dong Huang Baiji and the others drank a bit of wine didn't mean that Dong Huang Baiji and the others would be obedient. On the contrary, when they heard that their daughters were supporting Yi Hua, they felt very depressed in their hearts. Qingye was also the same. Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing seemed to be planning to give face to Yi Hua. After all, there were already 2 people who were disobedient, and if the remaining 2 people were to be disobedient as well, then it would definitely not do. However, when Yi Hua saw that the women were hesitating, he couldn't help but feel vexed in his heart. Thus he said coldly, "Cross cups of wine, there won't be any cross cups of wine in this lifetime. Let's drink." When Yi Hua said this, the 4 women were immediately stupefied. In actuality, after so many years, at least 50% of the vexation that Qingye and the others felt was due to a formality, and that was marriage. How many years had they been together? It had been around 20 years. Back then, they had agreed that they were going to get married, but every time when they asked about it, Yi Hua would always be indifferent, as if he didn't want to get married. As time passed, Qingye and the others started to get annoyed, and thus they used another kind of method to protest against Yi Hua. After hearing Yi Hua's words just now, Yi Hua said that he wouldn't get married in this lifetime? So be it. Humph. The 4 women snorted at the same time, stood up and left. They didn't say anything at all. This is completely not giving any face to Yi Hua at all. All of Yi Hua's subordinates were stupefied. In the past, no matter how angry Yi Hua's wife was, she would still accompany his honor to the end and help his honor to leave, but now... Mom! Dong Huangli and Yi Yin shouted out at the same time. Tell them to scram. Just looking at them makes me vexed. Yi Hua shouted out coldly, then raised his head and shouted. The atmosphere immediately became heavy, and all of Yi Hua's subordinates sobered up a little. Right now Gong Yu finally understood. Big brother is already so strict with his wife, let alone other people. Sigh, it's just that big brother's temper. Yi Hua's temper had become much better during these few years. Just now, it was Qingye and the others who angered Yi Hua. To be more precise, it was because Qingye and the others angered Yi Hua, and the others continuously today that Yi Hua was unable to suppress the anger in his heart anymore. F***K, I didn't bicker with you all, and yet you all started to become arrogant and arrogant. The atmosphere of the banquet changed in an instant. Dad, don't drink too much. Dong Huangli pressed onto her father's cup, and her gaze was filled with heartache. Yi Hua looked at his own Ali. If your mother was half as sensible as you, I wouldn't have to worry so much. Yi Hua took a deep breath, then slowly placed down the cup and said faintly, "The people from 7 deadly sins stay behind. As for the others, go back and rest. It's getting late." All of Yi Hua's subordinates didn't dare to say anything else. They could only shout out respectfully, "Yes, Your Honor." "Ali, you two should go back and rest as well," Yi Hua said towards the children. Yi Yan and God Yi were both drunk. "All right, Dad, drink less, don't work too hard. Ali's heart aches just by looking at you." With a doting expression on his face, Yi Hua lightly caressed Ali's hair, then nodded his head. Dong Huangli carried on to her little brother God Yi. "This fellow is already drunk and fainted. This idiot, if you are drunk and fainted, are you going to let Xian, play by herself?" Yi Lu supported onto her big brother Yi Yan, who was also drunk and fainted. Back then, before Yi Lu returned, he said that he was going to drink father's subordinates until they fainted, but in the end, he fainted before the battle even started. Soon, only Yi Hua and his subordinates were left in the banquet. "Everyone sit over here," Yi Hua said lightly. Yi Hua appeared to be a bit powerless. He picked up the wine cup in his hand and wanted to drink a mouthful of wine. However, when he recalled what Ali had entrusted to him, he slowly placed the wine cup down. The 7 subordinates obediently sat down. "Your Honor, your wife might be drunk, don't take it to heart," Wei Chong said in a low voice. If someone were to say that his honor didn't like it, Wei Chong wouldn't believe it. Perhaps his honor just didn't like it after a long time. "Let's not talk about this matter anymore, I know what I am doing." "Yes." Wei Chong was terrified. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette, paused for a moment, then passed it to everyone. Other than Yi Zizi and Brett who didn't smoke, all of the other men started smoking. Zhu Tian expressed, "This is His Honor's order. I have no choice but to smoke." Meanwhile, Brett didn't pay attention to Zhu Tian. "You just want to smoke, right? As long as you don't smoke in front of me, it will be fine." Yi Hua silently spat out a lump of cyan-colored smoke, and the smoke gradually dissipated in the air. It's a bit like a fleeting cloud. At the very least, the subordinates were filling in the blanks. "You all have also seen what happened to Ren Yao today," Yi Hua said faintly. Speaking of this matter, Yi Zizi became a bit angry. "Your Honor, why didn't you allow me to kill that fellow back then?" "I had to get rid of the root," Yi Hua said faintly. All of Yi Hua's subordinates nodded their heads. "If we don't get rid of the root, this matter will be like a fishbone stuck in everyone's heart." Chapter 13:25. After all, Yi Hua was the strongest person that Yi Hua had ever met. From today's situation, the guardian that has been silent for more than 10 years seems to be making a move. Therefore, I hope that everyone will be vigilant and get rid of this factor. Do you understand? "Yes, Your Honor. But what I said just now is not the main point." Yi Hua flicked the cigarette ash and said lightly. All of Yi Hua's subordinates went into a daze for a moment. "This is not the main point? Could it be that there is something else?" "I have decided, after this matter is settled, I will retire." Yi Hua's tone was a bit surprised. Following Yi Hua's words, all of Yi Hua's subordinates were astonished. "Retire? Perhaps people need to retire, but Your Honor has a boundless lifespan. Why do you need to retire? Furthermore, what does this sentence mean? Could it be that the group is disbanded?" Zhu Tian was a bit in disbelief as he muttered, "Your Honor, you are." This news came too quickly, causing all of Yi Hua's subordinates to be unable to accept it. "After all, we have been together for so many years. How can the group be disbanded?" "That's right, out of the 4 children, who do you all think is the most outstanding?" Yi Hua asked curiously. All of Yi Hua's subordinates did not speak. Their expressions were rather grave. Could it be that I am drunk? Am I dreaming? Or could it be that His Honor is drunk? For His Honor to actually ask such a question, it is very obvious that he is planning to retire? "Your Honor, you are still young. Why are you thinking about this?" Qing Su asked confusedly. "Although His Honor has been acting strangely these few years, I didn't expect that His Honor would be acting strangely to such an extent. Just what is going on with His Honor?" Yi Hua said faintly. "Make a plan early, then you don't have to think about it in the future." Lai Gu felt that His Honor seemed to be making arrangements for his death. However, although Lai Gu was thinking like this, he didn't dare to say it out. After all, this wasn't something auspicious. "Tell me, what do you all think?" Yi Hua continued to ask. Wei Chang took a deep breath, then wrinkled his brows. "Your Honor, if we are to choose people, subordinate feels that Dong Huangli and Yi Yan are both not bad. God Yi and Yi Lu are more obsessed with fighting. They are not suitable to be leaders. They are more suitable to be heroes." Hearing that, Yi Hua silently nodded his head. "What Wei Chang is thinking is the same as what I am thinking. Do you all think so as well?" Yi Hua asked faintly. All of Dong Huangli's subordinates nodded their heads. From the battle between Dong Huangli and Yi Yan, all of Dong Huangli's subordinates were able to discern something. Adding on to Dong Huangli's performance after the battle, all of Dong Huangli's subordinates were inclined towards Dong Huangli. However, here comes the problem. Dong Huangli is Dong Huangbaiji's daughter. If Dong Huangli were to support Dong Huangbaiji's side, what would Qingye say? Let's wait and see during this period of time. Whether it's Ali or Yener in the future, I still hope that you can properly assist them. Yi Hua didn't even know what he was saying anymore. Why does it feel like I am making some final arrangements? This is truly weird. With a slight smile on his face, Zhu Tian said, "Your Honor, you still have a lot of time to slowly look at it. There's no need to rush. And when I retire in the future, you can choose whether you want to retire or not. This matter is up to you to decide for yourselves." In actuality, Yi Hua's words caused the subordinates to feel a bit disappointed. Today was clearly a good day, but in the end, they felt a bit upset. At this moment, Lai Gu said gravely, "Your Honor, let's not talk about anything else. Wherever you go, I Lai Gu will follow you." And what Lai Gu said is extremely true. Your Honor, it wasn't easy for us to gather together. We don't want to disperse just like that. Wei Chong naturally still hoped to follow his honor. Even if his honor were to go and manage that bar again, it would be fine for me to go and become a security guard again. Seeing that his honor was safe and sound, I would be able to be at ease. If I were to say that I wasn't touched, that would be a lie. To have such a group of loyal subordinates. Yihua suddenly felt that this was the greatest fortune that he had in his entire life. Our group naturally won't disperse, after all. We still haven't stopped conquering. Alright, it's getting late. Let's all go back and have a good reunion. After all, a moment of spring night is worth 1,000 gold. Yihua squeezed out a trace of a smile, then slowly stood up. However, perhaps because he drank too much, his legs became unstable. Wei Chong, who was at the side, hurriedly held onto Yihua. Your Honor, are you all right? This wine that was concocted by Blood Demon is quite powerful. Yihua said faintly, then took the initiative to leave while smoking. However, the subordinates did not leave, and Wei Chong sat down once again. His Honor is acting strangely. Is it because of your wife? Pig Liver Ding Long asked puzzledly. Zhu Tian extinguished the cigarette in his hand, then said lightly, that is only one of the reasons. All these years, although his Honor didn't say anything, in actuality, he was still worried about the problem of the guardians, especially that fortune teller. That's right, that fortune teller cheated his Honor once. And that was why his Honor became vigilant. Yi Zizi said lightly. Everyone knew about this matter. To actually bewitch his Honor, this matter must not be looked down upon. That's why his Honor has been forging legendary weapons all these years to make himself more powerful. Brett took in a deep breath. What his Honor is thinking about is the big picture, and what his Honor is thinking about is that his Honor's wife doesn't understand, and that's why she is complaining. This is also normal in his Honor's wife's eyes. His Honor is everything. However, in his Honor's eyes there are too many things that he has to take care of, and the pressure on him is very big, Lai Gu said with a dignified tone. But don't you all feel that his Honor's tone today is a bit off? Tone? That's right, it's a bit like his Honor is leaving behind his will. Lai Gu muttered, and immediately he sensed 6 death stares. It's one thing for you to ridicule his Honor, but to actually curse his Honor to die, do you even have a bottom line? Lai Gu immediately apologized. However, after being reminded by Lai Gu, I seem to have such a feeling. While carrying this strange feeling, Lai Gu's subordinates left the banquet hall and returned to their respective homes. However, Yihua didn't go back to his mother's bedroom, as he didn't want to go back and quarrel with Qingya and the others. Gradually, Yihua walked over to his mother's bedroom. Master. When Daji, who was standing at the entrance, saw that her master had arrived, she felt happy in her heart. Yihua looked towards Daji. For so many years, Daji has been cautiously and conscientiously protecting my mother. Yihua walked in front of Daji, then patted onto Daji's shoulder. You haven't gone to rest yet. Master's mother hasn't gone to rest yet. Daji can't go and rest yet. Daji said respectfully. Feeling the warmth coming from Yihua's shoulder, Daji felt very happy in her heart. As long as Master comes over to take a look at me from time to time, I will be satisfied. It has been tough on you. Yihua let out a light sigh, then pushed open the door and entered into the bedroom. Daji, who was outside, lightly closed the door, then immediately became vigilant as she observed her surroundings. Even though she knew that no one would come to assassinate her, she still appeared to be very serious. Chapter 1326. Walking into the house, Yihua saw that his mother was sitting on the couch and was currently knitting a sweater. The children are already so big. They can't even fit into the sweaters they used to knit. Lu Jing said softly with a smile on her face. She appeared very gentle. Yihua slowly sat down beside his mother and picked up a sweater. All of these sweaters were prepared by his mother many years ago, just that he didn't have the chance to send them over. Yihua, the children are already so big. How can there be any overnight hatred between a husband and wife? It isn't easy for Qingya and the others. They are already going crazy thinking about their children. You have to be considerate of them. There's also Yutong and Yuqing. They want children, but they don't. As a mother, I can understand their feelings. All in all, only when your family is happy can you do other things with peace of mind. I can't help you too much, so don't think that I'm too long-winded. Yihua said respectfully. Mother, I don't dislike you for being long-winded, it's just that my feelings for you have already faded, and I really don't know how to deal with it. Lu Jing put down the sweater, then lightly held onto her son's big hand and said attentively, Yehua, this isn't that your feelings have faded. This is that love has turned into a kind of familial love. Look at people like us. Our lifespan is extremely long. You and Qingya and the others have just started. In the next 1,000 years, in the next 10,000 years, you have to grasp it well. After hearing that, Yihua let out a deep breath. That's right, in terms of lifespan, this is just the beginning. He felt that his feelings for her had faded a lot now. What would happen in another 20 years? Another 200 years? 2,000 years, or even 20,000 years? Could he still maintain that feeling? Right now, even Yihua was starting to suspect. Was the whole thing because of him? Or were they the ones behind it? All right, Yihua, quickly go back and rest. You drank a lot of wine again. Mother is going to sleep soon too. Yihua nodded his head, then stood up and said respectfully, Mother, I won't disturb your rest anymore. Go. Communicate well. Husband and wife need to communicate. Yes. Lu Jing sighed as she watched her son leave. She couldn't help much. After walking out of his mother's bedroom, Yihua looked at Daji, who was standing guard at the side, and said lightly, Daji, go and rest. Yes, master. Rest early too. Yihua silently nodded his head, then walked out of the bedroom. Daji looked at her master's back and realized that her master's back was becoming more and more lonely. It was not easy for her to lose weight. I heard that tonight's banquet ended on bad terms again. How could Madame treat the host like that? Daji couldn't understand. Yihua still didn't return to his bedroom, and he was currently thinking about where he should go. Subordinates with families should not visit them, lest they disturb them. I don't have a family, there doesn't seem to be anything to say. Yihua suddenly saw a small figure and shouted out, Uncle. Yi immediately stopped his footsteps, then turned around and greeted respectfully towards Yihua. With a straight face, Yihua asked faintly, Not at home in the middle of the night. What are you strolling about outside for? Father just came back. Mother asked me to come out for a walk. Yihua. To think that the two of you actually allowed your child to come out for a walk. I, the Supreme Overlord, am convinced. Where are you planning to go? Yihua asked faintly. Prepare. I'm going to take a walk outside the palace, Yi said honestly. Yihua slightly narrowed his eyes. Speak the truth. I have a few friends to play with. Friend? It's my uncle. I happen to be bored. Let's go and see your friends then. Ah. Why? Can't I see my uncle? Yihua asked faintly. Yes. The more Yi behaved like this, the more curious Yihua became. Going to see friends in the middle of the night? This little brat was not being honest at all. Yi silently walked in front, while Yihua smoked a cigarette and walked behind. Yi's expression slowly changed. I want to see what this child is going to do, acting so mysteriously. At this moment, beads of sweat were already appearing on Yi's forehead. I didn't expect that my uncle isn't sleeping in the middle of the night, and is actually strolling around the palace. Yihua could feel that Yi's breathing was unstable, and he became even more curious about what Yi was going to do. What else can a 12-year-old child do? Sneaking around. Could it be that he is going to see a girl? Yihua felt that there was a slight possibility of that. His pubic hair hasn't even fully grown, and he already knows how to flirt with girls. He has grown up. Along the way, the uncle and nephew duo walked out of the palace just like that. Actually, it was still quite early, but today the subordinates wanted to have a good time and got drunk, so they went to rest early. However, to the entire Wushu Empire, this was just the beginning of the nightlife. Needless to say, these few years, Wushu Empire's nightlife was quite decent. Along with the expansion of the empire, there were more and more regions. Thus, for For the sake of speed, teleportation formations were also used. From this, it could be seen just how big the expansion of Wushu Empire was. It could be said that the entire North knew that Wushu Empire was the true overlord of the North, and its scale had long surpassed that of any other empire. Even the other empires were shocked by the fact that different races and humans coexisted together, especially the South. They had already classified Wushu Empire as an unstable factor, and sooner or later, Wushu Empire would be destroyed. As a huge empire, how could it not have nightlife? As the internal manager of the empire, Kai Yun was quite responsible. Kai Yun felt that whether an empire would become popular or not would depend on whether the night was bright or not. However, right now, if one were to look down at the entire North, one would be able to discover that only Wushu Empire was the brightest star. In addition to today's celebration, the entire Wushu Empire was as lively as if it was celebrating the new year. The streets and alleys were filled with people, and one could even see different races walking among the crowd. Right now, Yihua was a bit stupefied. When did my territory become like this? To think that no one actually told me about it. Look at these people, look at this density. What is Kai Yun trying to do? Is he trying to squeeze me to death here? Although that was what he thought, Yihua felt very comfortable. Originally, this was a lifeless city of death, but after the cooperation of my entire team, it developed to such a state. This is truly not bad. During the next award ceremony, I must definitely praise Kai Yun. The entire team of South Wuqi is not bad, and they are worthy of praise. Following behind Yi, Yihua felt that the more he walked, the stranger he felt. Just now, it was indeed a flourishing street, but now, it had become plain and simple. However, this didn't stop the people from celebrating. There were actually even stalls set up on the street. Barbecue? This smell is familiar. Cumin? Who got it? Wait a minute. Yihua shouted out. No one recognized Yi. After all, Yi had never openly come out. Uncle, what's the matter? Accompany me for a drink, Yihua said lightly, then walked to the stall at the side. There was even a menu on the stall, and it felt pretty good. Chapter 1327. Drink. Yi slightly exclaimed. I don't seem to have reached the age to drink alcohol. Yes, come here. Yi slowly walked over and sat beside Yihua. Uncle, mother doesn't allow me to drink alcohol. Why? Yihua asked faintly. Mother said that I am still underage. An underage child running out in the middle of the night? I think you are precocious. Yihua looked at the menu and said faintly. As expected, Yi didn't say anything. 2 bottles of alcohol, pork belly, chives, eggplant, and a grilled fish. Yihua said faintly. Okay, boss, please wait for a moment. Yihua put down the menu and stared at Yi. What's your evaluation of your father? Yi hurriedly said. I can't evaluate father. I asked you to evaluate, just do it, understand? Yihua said gravely. Yi bit his lips and said softly. I don't like father. Yihua didn't feel surprised. This was a normal situation. Why not? What part of your father you don't like? Yihua asked faintly. Yi raised his head and looked at his uncle. So father and uncle look so similar. I didn't believe it before, but now I believe it. After father came back, mother's attitude towards me changed. Yihua went into a daze. So that's the case, no wonder, suddenly not used to it. This is the typical mentality of a child. How many times did you go out of the palace today? Yihua didn't want to dwell on the problem just now. Xiao Tian can handle it. I can't count anymore. Yi muttered, then lowered his head. The consequences of running out of the palace is very serious. Interesting. Why did you run out of the palace? Did you find a girlfriend? Yihua asked curiously. No. Then why do you run out every day? Yihua asked curiously. However, just when Yihua finished speaking, an angry shout sounded out from the side. Bastard, I asked you to fight, and you stood me up. You actually followed a bastard to eat barbecue. A clear and melodious voice resounded through the entire street. Yihua was curious, who are they scolding? This aura is not bad. Yi's face stiffened. Wasn't I just late by 5 minutes? After the crowd dispersed, Yihua saw a girl from a different race. The girl's ears were very special. She was actually from the elf race. When did elves come to the city? Moreover, this elf walked over with a wooden stick, and there seemed to be many underlings behind him. Hooligans. Old bastard. What are you looking at? Yi was dumbfounded. This is my uncle. It's my uncle's wish that you can sit here safely. You actually scolded him. Old bastard. If Chinya and the others were here, they would definitely laugh themselves to death. After all, the words that they didn't dare to curse were actually cursed out by this elf race's little girl. That was awesome. Right now, Yihua was a bit absent-minded. Someone actually scolded me as an old bastard. That was not the main point. The main point was that he was actually not angry. Yihua stared at the little elf girl and thought to himself, why am I not angry? Could it be that he was really old? Yi shot him a look. Enough, you crazy woman. Little bastard, do you have an eye disease? What are you looking at? Did you find an old man to back you up? To actually stand me up? Do you know how my 13th sister's nickname came about? Yi didn't know what to say. This little girl's looks were not bad, but there was something wrong with her brain. Did you come out at night to arrange a fight? Yihua asked Yi. However, before Yi could say anything, the 13th sister stepped on the stool. What do you want? This street belongs to my 13th sister. This little bastard is causing trouble in my territory. I will break his legs. Yihua laughed after hearing that and asked curiously, this street belongs to you? Nonsense, could it be yours? Yihua ignored her. What happened between the two of you? Uncle, it's like this. Yi told the story of what happened. The gist of it was that when Yi was causing trouble outside, he was also someone who had underlings. Then he came here to eat supper, and a conflict arose between his underlings. Then he arranged a fight to cause trouble. After fighting a few times, there wasn't a victor. So, he kept on causing trouble, and causing trouble. However, Yihua also knew that the underlings of the 13th sister were all from different races. Their main job was to protect the children of different races from being bullied by humans. And Yi seemed to want to lend a helping hand. He was the kind of person who would draw his sword to help. Don't do such useless things in the future. You will have plenty of opportunities in the future, Yihua said to Yi. Yi didn't say anything after hearing that. In fact, he also wanted to retort in his heart. This Wushu Empire seemed to be prosperous, but there were also many powers that emerged from it. Maybe it was because Yi had been keeping a low profile these few years, and had forgotten about his pain. Although it wasn't enough to be feared now, it would still be a problem in the future. Yi was worrying a little too much. These kinds of problems were all small problems. There was no need to worry at all. Understood. The 13th sister was a little confused. Wasn't he very arrogant just now? Why did he suddenly become so well-behaved? Who is this man? What is your name? Yihua asked faintly. 13. Are you the 13th child in your family? No. Aya, you are such a strange person. Are you checking my background? The 13th sister couldn't help but say. She felt that she had lost a lot of face. Boss, your barbecue is here. Yihua looked at the familiar barbecue in front of him, and it was as if he had returned to the days when he was drinking in a bar. Sit down and eat, Yihua said faintly. Even if my 13th sister starves to death or gets hacked to death, she still won't eat it. 5 minutes later. Boss, your barbecued fish is getting more and more fragrant. The 13th sister shouted out. Because she drank a little bit of wine, her white cheeks were a little red, making her look very cute. Yihua, who knew the reason, didn't blame her. It wasn't easy for the other races. Although they seemed to have assimilated into the other races, they had yet to truly assimilate into the other races. Perhaps, they would be able to assimilate into the other races after hundreds or thousands of years. Yihua drank a little bit of wine and looked at the bustling streets. His mood became much better. Suddenly, he discovered that the outside of the palace indeed had a different taste. Therefore, Yihua decided not to return back to the palace. I will stay in a hotel today. I heard that there is a viewing room. Only after arriving at the viewing room did Yi Hua find out that the scenery he was looking at was actually the palace. Inside the bedroom, the four women didn't sleep. They were sitting in the main hall, waiting for Yi Hua to return. They were prepared to have a good chat about who was right and who was wrong in this matter. Why isn't he back yet? Qinya said in a low voice. I am simply about to explode from anger today. To actually tell us to scram again, how can I not be angry? Qian Yuqing's attitude was still considered to be good. After all, Qian Yuqing had lost someone before and knew that kind of pain. To her, it was fine as long as it was appropriate. In actuality, Qing Yutong was the same as well. She was just grumbling. Chapter 1328. However, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were different. Although they were angry, they hoped that Yi Hua would do something. If Yi Hua bought a bunch of flowers and said some beautiful words to let Yi Hua know that he was wrong and correct himself in the future, then everything would be fine. However, Yi Hua didn't do anything from the start to the end, and he even appeared to be very indifferent. This was completely different from how he was in the past. Of course, Yi Hua would still coax her, act coquettishly and whatnot, but right now, that didn't exist. It was as if he did not have any feelings for you. This kind of situation made Qingye and Donghuang Baiji very vexed. If the feelings were gone, just thinking about it made them feel afraid. It can't be that he won't come back, right? Qian Yuqing said worriedly. In the past, when Yi Hua was angry, he would definitely come back to sleep with them. Although they didn't sleep together, seeing that Yi Hua came back, they felt relieved. If he doesn't come back, I will break his legs, Qingye said, but she was still a bit worried. Yi Hua had never stayed out at night before. Following Qingye's words, the four women continued to wait. However, what they waited for was still empty air. Suddenly, the four women wanted to hear steady footsteps coming from the door, or that indifferent face. Right when the women were fantasizing, the sound of heavy footsteps really rang out. This made Qingye feel as if she was hallucinating. Looking towards the others, Qingye seemed to be asking, do you guys hear this familiar sound of footsteps? Donghuang Baiji nodded her head and looked towards the door. As the footsteps got closer and closer, Qingye had already thought of her lines and was prepared to question Yi Hua. It is already so late. Where did he go to fool around? Does he still want this family? Is he still living? When the figure appeared at the door, the four women slightly went into a daze. Ali, it is already so late. Why did you come? That's right. The person who appeared at the door was Donghuang Li. I just dealt with Yi Yan, so I went to take a look at Godye's situation. Godye's little brother is not bad. He is very smart. He knows the importance of giving birth to life. This also proved that if you don't get drunk, you can't get things done. Therefore, you must get drunk. That will be the start of the opportunity. Since the matter was already settled, Ali wanted to find her father to have a heart-to-heart talk. Of course, it was because of her mother. However, when he walked over, all of them were sitting in the living room. Looking at their posture, he knew that his father hadn't come back yet. It was so late that it was even possible that he hadn't come back yet. Sai, why bother? Which man doesn't want face? Daddy is a boss, and he wants face even more. If you guys don't give me face, it would be strange if you don't leave in anger. If Daddy meets a beautiful girl outside, or a sensible girl, then you guys are done for. Mom, you haven't slept yet. Are you waiting for someone? Is father in? Although Donghuang Li guessed that her father wasn't in, she still wanted to ask. Donghuang Baiji remained silent. Donghuang Baiji squeezed out a smile and said, Ali, quickly go and sleep. We are discussing some matters here. Do you want to talk about a divorce? Donghuang Li asked lightly. Her tone was completely filled with indignation for her father. Sure enough, Donghuang Li's words caused those women to go into a daze. Donghuang Baiji even said gravely, Ali, what are you talking about? Although I am also very happy that my daughter and son have returned, but right now, my daughter is completely on Yi Hua's side. Why don't you all think about how much Mom has missed you all these years? Half of the reason why I ended up quarreling with your father is because of you all. Do you all think Mom wants to be like this? Who doesn't want to be happy with their family? The atmosphere immediately became tense. The children are too much on Yihua's side, and right now, they actually dare to go against me. This is too outrageous. Isn't what I said right? When you all were young, although you all quarreled with each other, in the end, Dad still lowered his head and coaxed you all. You all only know how to let Dad coax you all. If Dad coaxes you all too much, don't tell me that Dad will be happy. Why don't you all coax Dad? Love isn't something that belongs to just one party. It needs to be controlled by both parties. The thing that I hate the most is quarreling with each other because of some trivial matters. Dong Huangli was no longer the same as when she was young. If it was when she was young, she definitely wouldn't say such a thing. She wouldn't dare to say such a thing. But now that she has grown up, I know that there are some things that I have to say, and I have to say them out loud. Furthermore, I have to let Mom know that if Dad leaves you all, he won't die. Dong Huang Baiji was angered to the point that her entire body was trembling. Pointing at her daughter, Dong Huang Baiji shouted out, "Get out! Adults are talking. What is a child like you interrupting? This is none of your business." "Mom, I am no longer a child now," Dong Huangli said faintly, then turned around and left. Dong Huangli looked very cool. If Yi Yan was here, he would definitely give Big Sister a big thumbs up. Awesome. To actually dare to use this kind of tone to talk to Mom. This is too awesome. Looking at her daughter leaving just like that, Dong Huang Baiji, who was angered to the extreme actually started crying out loud. She felt as if everyone no longer liked her. And that kind of feeling was extremely wronged. Qingye supported onto the Empress who was beside her. This woman is just like this. I thought that today would be a happy day. After all, the children had returned. But in the end, I found out that this happiness is actually filled with pain. Look at Ali's current appearance. She doesn't even look like she was when she was young. I really wonder if she is Ali or not. Dong Huang Baiji said while choking with sobs. She was still tightly hugging onto Qingye while crying and snot. This truly makes one's heart ache. Qing Yutong let out a light sigh. When a child grows up, they are just like this. After finished speaking, Qing Yutong started thinking whether or not she should still give birth to a child. If my child reaches Ali's age and also goes against me, that kind of feeling is simply unimaginable. I wonder how the Empress is feeling right now, Sai. When a child grows up, he would become a bit rebellious. This is also normal. Qingye consoled Dong Huang Baiji attentively. How big of a matter is this? Besides, what Ali said is somewhat reasonable. However, even if everyone understands the reason, it would be very difficult to do it. But look at Ali's appearance just now. It seems like she was teaching me a lesson. Dong Huang Baiji was depressed and sad. I didn't even have the chance to properly chat with my daughter, and I was already taught a lesson by my daughter. Qing Yutong said faintly. If Yenner wasn't drunk, I reckon that what happened just now would also be the same. Big sister, you have to be mentally prepared. Qingye took a glare at her little sister. Only you know that I, Yenner, wouldn't teach my mother like this. I reckon that Yihua won't be coming back tonight. Qian Yuqing, who was sitting at the side, muttered. She felt that she had indeed done something wrong. I shouldn't have gone along with Yihua's evil deeds. I wonder if it is still too late for me to betray Yihua now. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.